And we should be live. And hello everyone. Just waiting 1 second for confirmation that we're live. And we're live. Alright. Very cool. With my mic boost, I'm now noticing quite a lot of noise coming from my computer fan, but hopefully that won't be a problem. Otherwise, I'll have to throw away my computer.
That would be bad.
Yes, this is not what I want to do. Oh, I see now. 1 second. I see that it's capturing the wrong tab because I did have to move it. But I can fix this. Oh, it is trolling me. 1 second. I've been trolled. Okay, we're good now.
Good.
I'm taking that back, by the way.
You thieving Mexican.
I'm an Indian giver. Okay. And to those who don't know, he's Mexican. So save yourself trouble commenting on that. I just see it coming.
No habla español.
No hable. All right. I'm all ready. Eduardo, are you ready, my friend?
I am ready.
Okay.
My body is ready.
And it is the 13th. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly wrap-up of the news as I see it, my weekly news show. We have FNGEddie with us, and it is the 13th of January, 2013, 1313, and this is the second episode of the weekly wrap-up of the news as I see it. How are you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing fantastic now that you're here.
That's what I like to hear. All right, so up first, with our first article for the day, it is 5X Rare veterans or employees have formed a new studio, Flippin Pixels. Now, for me, I grew up sort of defining my multiplayer gaming experience on the not 360, but the Nintendo 64, another numbered console, and things like GoldenEye and really just pretty much every game that was good on the 64 can almost be attributed to Rare in some way. But I'm really excited to see anything coming from anyone who's ever with Rare, because a lot of innovation and a lot of what I feel like is a lot of modern stylistic forms of gaming have something to attribute to what Rare did. What do you have to say, friend?
No, yeah, for sure. Aside from the fact that you're a 12-year-old boy growing up on the 360, yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys are gonna do. I like Rare. I played a lot of Rare games, rented a lot of Rare games.
Oh yeah.
From a local video game store, like video/game stores. They had movies. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because I mean, I would have friends come over and we'd play. I mean, I had countless gaming systems, but on the Nintendo 64 you had four players local, which was a pretty big deal. So I would have friends come over every now and then, and you would play, your Super Nintendo, your regular Nintendo. I had an old Atari. We might have had a Commodore. I even had one of the standalone Pong units. I mean, like, gaming's been in my family forever. And you would have a friend over, you'd play, or you'd have a couple friends over, and you would trade turns. I always hated trading. I never liked doing that. And for me, like GoldenEye especially was one of those games where, you know, they had Mario Kart as well in 64, which was a defining multiplayer game for a lot of people. But for me, like shooting and everything, you had GoldenEye and Rare really like set the standard for that, even especially with a licensed IP, which was pretty much unheard of, and is still kind of unheard of to be really a good game out of it. So actually having 4 people being able to sit down at one single time and play, let alone having even maybe 8 people there on standby, you know, to play games, was kind of unheard of. So anything they do ever, anyone involved with them doing anything ever, will always at least have my attention.
And before they acquire the license to bring back Bond.
Yep. Which is funny because all of those games have been pulled from things like Steam, because their license is set to expire fairly soon, but they just came out with a new 007 game, and it just got pulled from digital sales.
What do they got? 1 more year on the license?
Something like that,
Yeah.
which is why it's weird that they've already, you know, pulled it.
Yeah,
It's very confusing, I will say the least. And up next, we have R2 Studios. Now, we've been talking about this, or I've been talking about fairly a lot actually on the Daily News Show, but oddly enough, the founder of R2 Studios has been made the VP of the Xbox division over Microsoft, because Microsoft just acquired R2 Studios. And if you don't know, R2 Studios specializes in various integration systems amongst electronics, such as your iPhone controlling your thermostat, your phone controlling ordering your groceries if you run out of a certain grocery or something. To me, this is super interesting, especially since he is now officially part of Xbox, which is kind of where I was predicting it would go. So with him being majorly in charge of Xbox, you know, hardware division, he's going to be able to take things like Kinect and things like, probably not an iPhone, but maybe various Android phones, and making them heavily integrate with your Xbox and other electronics, especially with things like Windows 8 now, and how, you know, iPhone has the Game Hub system where it's like leaderboards and friend interaction, but on like Windows 8 and on the Windows 8 phones, they use the Xbox Live system. So literally they're right there with all phone and mobile Android type Windows gadgets to be literally set up, instantly connected to Xbox Live. So the integration, he's just ready to come into a world built around what they're trying to get him to do. So it's not gonna be a lot of time before you're gonna start seeing changes from him, I think. Immediate change, and then I'm sure he has a long-term goal.
You know, I'm seeing Xboxes that control your home, or some crazy controllers with these features.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the Xbox, when it first came out, I felt like was very revolutionary. Whether or not, retrospectively, if we look back on it, it didn't really change anything. It was just, you know, higher fidelity graphics, really. That was kind of it. And then, of course, with the advent of Xbox Live, that changed the game severely. But even still looking back on it, they were just putting online gaming on a console. That's not a huge deal, really, but it was at the time. You know, so I'd been playing online games for countless years prior to that. But it's interesting. This is the kind of thing that will change console gaming, possibly change gaming in general, and really just change electronics, I feel like, in terms of user interaction.
And accessibility for the consumer. I mean, stuff for the Xbox is pretty cheap.
Oh, for sure.
And he's most likely going to build around the Xbox or for the Xbox or or just a new Xbox. It's going to be affordable.
Yep. I could see a lot of changes on the current 360 sort of life form, but I also see the next iteration of what we're going to call Xbox, 720 or whatever. I see that being a very different thing. I don't see it really being a console. I see it more of being like a media center PC.
Yeah, exactly. Because
the utter lack of like a browser on 360, even though they promised it, what, 2 or 3 years ago, it was supposed to come out with that last huge update for 360. It didn't come. So they clearly said, like, we're just going to kind of wait on that one. Yeah, that's not coming. That means to me, I feel like that means a huge media center type update coming where they're going to just do it right out of the gate and not tack on this nasty browser. Because I don't like the PS3 one at all. It's not for me.
It is terrible.
It's bad.
It is a terrible browser.
Functional? Sure. Would it have been good several years ago? Absolutely. It would have been awesome. But I can get on my iPhone and accomplish anything in a tenth the time. So I just hope this really changes console gaming, because for me, console gaming has always been generations behind desktop gaming, computer gaming, and hardware, software, everything. The convenience has always been nice, but with how well things like Windows 8 are now and how PC parts, it's very obvious now to tell which are safe parts to use. I don't feel like having a gaming PC is that much of a burden anymore. So
it's not.
Yeah, I hope had the highest hopes for this turning out into a really awesome thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I know a whole lot of people in the sort of indie community have been looking forward to, and that's the DayZ standalone release. It was supposed to have come out, I believe, in mid-December, and obviously that hasn't happened. So, one point is, does this have to do with the two Bohemia devs or VPs or whatever being held captive in Greece under possible military espionage because they're purportedly taking photos of a Greece military base? Now,
of a base, mind you can see on Google Maps.
Yes. So if I'm not mistaken, it's in a low point and they were up on a high terrain taking photos of it. If you have your military base being photographable from like a hill, that's okay. What's your problem? Are you crazy? Like, you're going to shoot people? Obviously they weren't shot, but you're going to like arrest people and hold them prisoner for months because they took photos of something that you put a natural landform beside that they can stand on? Cool. But at any rate, it's kind of unsure if it's because these two devs are being held prisoner overseas and that's slowing down the process or not. But at any rate, it seems like, Dean, aka Rocket, is holding off on releasing the standalone because he wants it to be a really good game. And I think there's no better reason to hold off on releasing a game other than it's not ready yet. Given he is doing the Minecraft sort of structure where he's going to release it and constantly update it, whether or not that's indefinitely or not, or if he actually has sort of a 1-year goal or what he has in plan, but that's the model he wants. I think he's doing the same pricing structure where it's going to be, let's say, $10, and then in 6 months, maybe 15, a year, maybe 20, 30, who knows. But if he's just waiting to release a good game, all the support to him. I don't care if it takes a month, I don't care if it takes a year. Make a better game because it's going to have a better launch and people will enjoy it. There won't be bad reviews, there won't be bad taste. I don't see any reason to release a game early, especially if you have this huge backing from your developers and the community.
Yeah, we don't want the whole War Z effect going on again.
Exactly. Because, I don't know if there's going to be any sort of cash shop or if it's going to be a single play or single pay to play. I think it's single pay to play because he really talks a lot about liking the Minecraft model. So
I would hope so, yep.
It really all signs point to he's waiting to make a good game. And, I read a small article saying he really didn't want people to have a bad taste in their mouth the first time they played the standalone. He wanted the foundation to be very secure. So I hope it's all true, and I hope it comes out soon, but I hope it's ready. Because I really loved playing the DayZ before all the hackers came in. That was really sad when they ruined it, but it gave me a good taste of what he was capable of.
Yeah, I never played it. I don't own Arma 2, can't get that mod.
Mm-hmm.
But everything I've seen, I like it. I like this whole survival zombie game thing. It reminds me of a Stalker minus a bunch of the mechanics that Stalker has.
Right.
The survival aspect, I like that. And I'm fingers crossed this is going to be a good standalone.
Yeah, anything heavily emphasizing multiplayer play, especially with friends, that's a massive selling point for me because
Yep.
that's all I want to do is play like everything co-op.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully as well the not Skyrim, but the Elder Scrolls MMO can pull it off as well. Okay, so up next we have Beyond Two Souls.
Okay, so this is very exciting for me. This is something that I like hearing about. People over, the guys that made Heavy Rain are making Beyond Two Souls, a game that looks fascinating. The teaser trailer that they showed, I think it was at E3, I got hooked. There hasn't been a game that has hooked me into a character since Red Dead Redemption, John Marston, the lead character. I I loved it. And so what these guys are doing is mid-development, they stop and switch to a new game engine instead of using the one they had for Heavy Rain. I love this because it's a better engine. It allows them to do so many more things that were just not possible with Heavy Rain engine. And like I said, the key part is that they stopped mid-development to change engines because they want a better game.
Mm-hmm. I think that's, going right back into the DayZ thing. It's amazing to me in the current sort of atmosphere of game development that people would still do this, because it seems like, I've heard lots of stories back on like the Atari, how they would make a game, throw it away, remake it, because they could do it in 30 days. Like, two dudes can make a whole game in 30 days if they were qualified. They do that all the time. And they would make games, make games, make games. They could make 10 games and then randomly make one they actually liked, and then they would sell it and it would make millions and millions and millions of dollars. They didn't sit around for 4 years making these games. It didn't happen. But nowadays, you can't make a game for 4 years and have like 400 employees and then things just don't work out. It just doesn't. You can't do that. Everyone would be bankrupt, the first day of remaking a game. However, Heavy Rain was pretty wildly successful and people loved it, and critically it's immensely received. And changing a game engine, especially after, with the success of Heavy Rain, they have a little bit of leeway. But they also have a lot riding on it because they're going into a second game, which is basically the make it or break it game. Because everyone's going to probably get this game knowing the Heavy Rain people made it. So going into it, it's really risky, but they said, well, if we're going to risk everything, we might as well do it right. And I have a lot of admiration for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at this render, this is a render, by the way, of Ellen Page. It's not actually her. So I think the choice is pretty obviously clear that they made a good choice. And speaking of the whole Mojang model of pricing, Minecraft has been purchased over 15 million times in 2012, and overall they've made $250 million. Whether or not that impresses you or not, because you hear large amounts of money, especially in the United States deficit, you hear trillions all the time. You're like, yeah, and you can't even forget the value of a dollar. What would you do with $250 million? That's like one of the biggest lotteries you can kind of win, like in Georgia. So, that's like, and how many people are in Mojang? Like, it's under 20.
It's a really
like
small
10,
deal.
7?
Yeah.
And that is just, that is such a massive amount of money. And, there's a small team, for the Xbox, the Pocket Editions, and for the Xbox versions. So it's not like those people are remaking the game. They're taking the game and porting it and balancing it to play right on the consoles and the phone. So it's a very small amount of people who are getting all this money. So anything these people do after this, Mojang or any of the other companies working on, the portables and the Xbox versions, 4J Studios, they're going to be just literally rolling in cash. They can do anything they want at this point. They can fund pretty much any game they want out of pocket. They don't have to have investors. It's mind-boggling what they're going to be able to do. Just these numbers astound me. So, I mean, kudos to Minecraft. I loved it. I've always loved it. And I don't know if they're planning on any sort of sequel, or if they're just going to keep supporting, but the possibilities are literally endless for this. Like, they can open a gigantic dev studio. They can stay small. I can't tell if this is a sign of things to come, and it's either the first big instance, or if it's almost a fluke in a way, or if this is how everything's going to start going from now on. It's hard to tell.
I want to see Minecraft not on Java. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I think they have the money to pull that off, you'd think.
Maybe. I know. They might be a few bucks short.
Yeah.
Couple of
one more
cheeseburgers
sale,
left.
guys. We just need one more.
One more.
Yeah, that actually is a good point. You could literally code this in every possible language, and it could possibly be better than Java, but let alone they could afford to do it and still have $250 million. Up next, new game from the creator of the Alice Madness Returns series. It is American Mcgee and his game Akaneiro?
Something like that, yeah.
What are your
So
thoughts?
this game is right now a browser game. It's going to come out with its own launcher as well, so you can play it on your computer without, having it in your browser. When I got my hands on it, it was a Diablo-like game without the Diablo's depth. Like, the gear, it's simple. There's no Borderlands type of thing going on with the gear. Combat is very simple. It's pick it up and go type of game. I like it so far. There's definitely room for improvement. They're still doing their Kickstarter, I believe, and they haven't reached their goal for multiplayer. So get on that, people. I want to see multiplayer-ness. Also, a audio slider would be nice.
Always a good
But I
thing.
mean, the visuals are nice. The art style that they went with is decent. I like it. I mean, I can't wait to see how this develops.
Mm-hmm.
It looks promising. Not a big Diablo game type of genre fan of that stuff, but I like this.
Yeah, whereas, I pretty much grew up on Diablo 1, couldn't have been a bigger fan. So anything in that genre, especially multiplayer, is amazing for me. So I hope this hits a multiplayer goal. That'd be phenomenal. And browser-based games are potentially the future of games. Having their own launcher, the fact that you can run like Unreal Tournament 3 in Google Chrome, I don't really know why you need a launcher anymore, other than I guess it helps. And if you have a game like Planetside where it's patching constantly, I guess it's a good thing. Maybe it's
Wasn't
more
it
secure. I'm not really sure.
the very first generation of iPhones could run Unreal Engine, right?
They made one for it,
Oh,
to my
gotcha.
knowledge. It's like a modified. Well, I think it's modified. I think they took it and changed it up a little bit because they wanted to really have a solid. At Epic, they're more now into the engine development kind of company more than a game company, even though Gears of War has kind of changed that a little bit. But so I think they really just wanted to they made the Epic Citadel demo on that new engine, and then they made well, I guess they didn't make Infinity Blade. Someone else made it, but it's on the engine. So yeah, I think it's a special iPhone engine, but either way, it's a modified of the Unreal 3, I think. So
Yeah, basically my point was that, I mean, this is going to run on your phone.
right.
A lot of these games run on phones, smartphones, granted. Got to be smartphones. And in your browser. I mean, and they run really well. Chrome is very good at this.
So yeah, I hope it can reach the Kickstarter goal it needs, especially for multiplayer. I hope they get all their goals and they're able to get a little bit extra to actually, put a cherry on top, because I mean, this guy has made really good games. The Alice games are really awesome. I personally don't play them because it's I mean, literally playing as the character Alice doesn't really interest me, especially in a like straight up literal Alice game. If it was maybe a adaptation and Alice had a machine gun, maybe, or like a katana like this, you know, I could get behind this if this was Alice. But the literal Alice character just running around with a dagger and fighting card people, not my style. But in watching the game, I go, that looks like a really good game. I'm just not into that. But I can get behind some Oni slaying with katanas all day long. That is right up my alley. Now, this next article is, right up my alley indeed. It is SimCiy. They finally have a intro for the new game, the new 2013 title. Now, and I won't be playing it just because you're never really sure if people will like you to, even though I think they wouldn't mind. However, go watch the video yourself. It is awesome. All of these videos are awesome, and if you're a fan of RTSs, you're a fan of simulation games, you're a fan of city building games, if you're a SimCiy fan, this game is revolutionizing the whole system. It's no longer just a basic game with graphic improvements and a couple more features here and there. I feel like all of these games, since, I don't know, maybe like the last, we'll say 6 years, maybe even longer, have been the exact same game with just a better graphics, basically. This game is actually changing the way they're played. The graphics alone are amazing and immensely better. The global UIs, user interfaces, the way the game's actually played physically are extremely different. The buildings, you don't just place them in their build. You take them, you drag them, and they're swinging from your mouse cursor. So there's a little bit of physics involved. It's more playful. It's not so serious and scientific. It's really different. And then the way electricity is distributed, it's not just this mathematical grid. You actually watch the electricity flowing down the streets if you're in the electrical view, and you see where it's going. It's like, if you're the president of the United States and you just say, like, I wish I could just see everything laid out, cut and dry. This game is doing that, and it's also giving you a playful interaction. Like, if you're looking at the screenshot, these big green circles on the map, that's sewage. So you're seeing the actual impact of every building's sewage puddle, and then you watch it being transferred down the streets, and if it congests at certain points, you can increase the size of the sewers. And then it's going to be multiplayer. Right out of the gate, you can have a city, you have a giant sort of region, and I can build a city, and if I'm liking my city, I can invite Eddie in, and he can plop his city down beside mine, and if he wants, he can only make it an electrical city and just to give power to my city. Or he could build a casino city, and I could build a city like with Judge Dredd police officers that go and just like beat the crap out of the criminals in his casino city. I love that.
That sounds fantastic.
I can't wait. I can't wait, and I hope it's locally hosted servers. That way, you don't have to worry about weird connection stuff. We can just play our own thing and not worry about other people. It's going to be $60. Cool. I'll pay $60 for this all day long. Maxis usually doesn't let me down, and this is an actual innovation on the genre, especially in the franchise. So if you haven't watched any of these videos, just look up any of these. You can go here and watch it, and you can go follow up any of their other ones. To me, it's going to be like, I don't really want to say a life-changing game, but I'm a huge fan of the genre, and games like City XL updated the genre just with better graphics, basically. So this is actually going to put a foothold in the genre actually taking a leap forward. And this is Eddie's favorite game coming up, The Sims. That's all he plays. Don't let him lie to you. No, but I am a huge Sims fan, especially The Sims 3. They did a really good job with it. I wish they would not charge such hefty amounts of money for every single thing they do in the game, but it does drive the game to stay around longer. But there's 3 new expansions coming out, I think, this year, and one of them is University Life. Inherently, I go, wow, it's going to be a Sims game or a simulator game about college experience. It's got nothing to do with college life. I said this. Then I watched the trailer. They're doing keg stands, beer pong, and then they even go so bold as to have 2 girls kiss and mention the word experimenting. I was very shocked by this, and I go, interesting. Now they don't even show they show kissing in the game, and then if there's people having sex, I call it woohooing, and it just looks like a Tasmanian devil underneath the bed sheets. So I was very surprised with keg stands, beer pong, and lesbian experimenting, as they'll call it. I hope this game has even more sort of raunchy animal party or Animal House, college party type situations. I really do, because I went to college, and it's never like it's portrayed in these kind of things. It's pretty crazy. It's especially going to a private art school. Things get really crazy really fast, and if you're going to have a simulation game about real life, you might as well go hard or just not do it. Like, there's a lot of other things you could have got the same experience out of instead of doing like a university expansion if you're not going to really go full on into it. So I hope they have even more things, but if they don't, at least they went that far, and maybe it'll slowly and slowly get more realistic as they go. Or they might even release another Sims Online game and actually make that one sort of like Second Life, but less 4chan. Now we have the Remember Me trailer. This is very interesting looking. It sort of looks like a mixture of Assassin's Creed, the way it plays, and a sort of GTA sort of big city, and a more Ghost in the Shell near future kind of environment with cybernetics and everything. The trailer's really cool at the very least. Go check it out. It intrigues me a lot. What do you think, Eddie?
I think it's called Forget Me. This game did not grab me. The trailer did not grab me.
Really?
Nothing about their description for it has grabbed me. The initial article I read about it was intriguing before I saw any trailers or any footage or any screenshots, and then I saw the stuff and it feels lackluster to me.
Mm-hmm. Now,
maybe it's because it's a console game. It's strictly console, and it was initially just going to be for the PS3. Like, they had a contract written up with Sony that is going to be an exclusive, and then that got dropped. So now these guys, whoever picked it up, Capcom. Oh, Capcom. I don't like Capcom either. They picked them up, and now they're going forward with it. But I mean, there hasn't been a change that has grabbed me since then.
now I will say, since like the Cyberpunk 2077 stuff, I've lost a lot of sort of hype for this game. But for me, we're talking cybernetics, near future androids. I can't not be at least interested, but I do see where you're coming from. It feels a little dry. Like, looking at this scene alone, it feels sort of dry. So I don't know. I want to see more. Absolutely want to see more. But like with a lot of games, you're shown a lot of really sort of weighted stuff, and then as gameplay starts coming out more and more and more, and you start seeing less and less and less, you're going, maybe I won't buy this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, like the combat in there it didn't look like anything new. It didn't look like a new experience at all. I mean, if I want that stuff, I got Warframe.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Go ahead.
I was just say, I'm really curious just to see how this and Cyberpunk sort of. I feel like these are very related in a way. And I'm very curious to see, because I mean, I'm seeing female character, cybernetics, near future, combat. I just want to see how they go side by side, because it's going to be interesting if they have any sort of a near release date. I'm not really sure what Cyberpunk's planning. This says May 2013, which probably means 2018. And Cyberpunk's whenever it wants. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go.
Yeah, I want to see where it goes. I mean, they said the franchise will grow into the next generation of consoles, but again, it's still consoles, dated hardware.
And they're also planning on a franchise.
Yeah.
Woo!
I mean, if they expand on what the story is, maybe I'll get interested in it or whatever. But as it stands, pass for me.
Now we have Sins of a Dark Age by the people who brought you Sins of a Solar Empire with their new MOBA game.
A MOBA, you say? With a questing mechanic of all things? Okay, so these guys want to evolve the genre, the MOBA genre, into something better. Now, questing was an interesting choice, considering that MOBAs are heavily PvP games. I mean, you got to kill other people to succeed. Questing, I feel like, would add an unnecessary element to achieve your goal. I could actually... Okay, so do you remember Rift PvP?
Mm-hmm.
Where there's a you capture this shard and take it back to base, or you can kill the, we'll call them towers, but they're NPCs along the way to the boss, which would be the Nexus. They have questing in there. It wasn't good. It did not help the game.
Yeah.
And that was a very MOBA-like instance, and no, it didn't lend itself well to having questing in there. It distracted from the actual goal, which is getting to the boss and killing him. So, I mean, kudos to them for trying to evolve the genre, but this isn't... I don't think it's where they should be going with it.
Now, do you feel like this is sort of... It's almost like this should have come before the current iteration of MOBAs? Like, it seems like the questing mechanic they're trying to build is more like in League of Legends you have like the dragon and the baron. Do you think in this game it's more like you're getting a quest to go kill the dragon, and in League they've already cut out the fat and it's just kill the dragon?
Yeah, like it'll slow the game down, I think. And that's not a game that you need to slow down at all. Slowing down in that game means you lose. Or in this genre.
Or do you think this game is going to be taking the MOBA experience and really kind of extrapolating it and extending it to where we're not talking 30-minute matches. We're talking like endless space where it's like, I'm going to be playing this for 5 hours to like a month because who knows where this is going. Do you think it's going to be something like that, but with the endless waves of minions type situation?
Nothing that long, I don't think. Questing will definitely slow down, but not to that extent. Maybe you'll be looking at like an hour and a half games to 2 hours possibly with this distraction. But I mean, like, take a look at Smite. Their changes have been allowing games to progress and be finished within like a block of 10 to 20 minutes.
Right.
Just because of scaling right now, which is actually pretty broken. But the point is, MOBAs need to be faster, not slower.
But what if... I mean, I see what you're saying. I think in the current sort of genre, I agree. But I would like to see a different kind of MOBA. Because to me, like, I love tower defense, I love rail shooting, and I love killing waves of enemies in games. So if they took what MOBAs sort of offer and extrapolated it into like a larger RTS genre, to where we're talking instead of like 12 towers, we have like 70 towers, like that much distance in between you.
That would be interesting. That's
what I would like this to be. Since it's coming from the Sins of Solar Empire people, I can't help but feel like they're not just making a MOBA. But I don't know yet, so that's what I'm excited about this game for. Because the questing thing, to me, is more of a, what are you really trying to do? That doesn't just sound like League of Legends with the quest, you know?
Right. I mean, if you take it at face value, it's,
right.
You know, like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's deeper than that, and, I mean, I haven't seen signs of it being deeper than that.
Right, exactly.
That would be interesting, actually.
Because, yeah, if they're just making another MOBA, especially one with people wearing leather tunics, archers, and people with swords, I'm like, okay, well, they kind of just remade Smite. But I hope they're going somewhere other than just another MOBA, because there's plenty of other MOBAs.
Yeah, if they're saying they want to evolve the genre, this better be evolution.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, something we're utterly excited for, Cyberpunk 2077. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in terms of anime, I always recommend Ghost in the Shell to people, especially standalone complex. Utterly in love with it. Can't get enough of it. I've watched it several times. And for what I'm understanding, Cyberpunk 2077, or Cyberpunk alone, is a pen and paper game that Ghost in the Shell is based off of. And so this new game by CD Projekt Red, the people who made The Witcher, they're making an actual game based off of the pen and paper instead of someone making a Ghost in the Shell game, basically. So I'm intrigued. I always, them pulling from the original content source is very interesting, especially instead of like a Western to Japanese to Western transition. They're just, keeping it in the borders. So it'll probably hold true a little bit better. If you haven't seen the trailer for this, it'll be down in the description afterwards. You have to see the trailer. You can always look it up on YouTube. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, especially if you're a fan of this, I guess I wouldn't call it series, since I guess you're a fan of the Cyberpunk, yeah, but if you're a fan of Ghost in the Shell, you'll really recognize what's going on. But I cannot wait to see gameplay. It's, this awesome cybernetic female lead. It's kind of like the Fifth Element sort of universe. And I really have no idea where they're taking it. I mean, I'm assuming it's like The Witcher. It's going to be either over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, or it's going to be an FPS. I imagine it's going to be more like The Witcher, like an over-the-shoulder kind of game.
Yeah, I would hope so, actually. I don't want it to be a first-person shooter. Yeah. That would disappoint me greatly.
I don't see them doing that. Especially, look at her arms. Those arms
exactly.
They're not going to sing in first person.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to work in third very well. But CD Projekt Red, if you've never seen any of the Witcher games, you've kind of done yourself a disservice. I think I'm going to be doing a Witcher 2 playthrough because it looks awesome. I haven't played them yet, sadly, just because the time's never been right with other games. But if you've seen any of the games, the Witcher games, they're amazing. They are stunning. They look super fun. Everything seems really thought out. And also you can tell these people care about video games. They're not just making games. They're not making the next game. They're making good games.
Oh yeah. CD Projekt Red is really good at tackling adult themes in video games. They do it really well and present it in a mature fashion. Sex, racism, like all that stuff. It's really good. Especially Witcher 2, there's a lot of racism between humans and elves. And can't wait to see the Let's Play for that, because they do a good job of it.
Now, what I'm hoping doesn't happen, which I don't think it will, because I think the Witchers have been nothing but success. I don't want, because me personally, I was a big Deus Ex fan, and Human Revolution just completely let me down. I don't want this just to feel like Human Revolution, because they claim it's going to be a multi-threaded, non-linear story. And so did Deus Ex, and that game was nothing but a linear story. But you could choose the way you leveled up or whatever. That's a linear story. Skyrim is a linear story because the story is linear. You just don't have to play the story. So I'm just hoping this isn't another Human Revolution. It isn't another sort of, pipe dream that they're promising all these things. And I don't think it's going to be. That's the thing. I hope it actually is the experience they're promising, and the trailer alone gives me high hopes in their track record as well.
Yes.
But this is going to be something I'm going to be covering very frequently with every little tidbit of information. Now,
and I will beat you into any early game access.
Oh, yeah. Now, over at Massively, we have MMO news. The Secret World sales, they're up 30% since the restructuring to the buy-to-play model.
So, Secret World was released with a triple whammy of monetization. You had the initial purchase of the game, $60 price. Then you had a subscription, $15 a month. And then you had a cash shop on top of all that. So they wanted you to dish out $60, $15 for the first month. That's $75. And then they had a cash shop that, even though you're subscribed, you didn't have access to that content. You You had to actually buy all that stuff. But now they got rid of the high initial price, and it's now 20 something. And they got rid of the subscription, or didn't get rid of it. It's optional. And then you have Cash App, which is still there, to allow them to still generate money after the initial purchase if you're not subbed. And it's a cosmetic shop basically, which is really good. I don't want a Cash App that allows you to buy power or anything like that in a game that has PvP. This 30% increase in sales excites me because I had just purchased during the holiday sale on Steam Secret World and was worried that it would probably die. But now we're seeing an increase in player activity by 400% since it went to this model, which gives me hope that this is going to be around for a while. Servers will not be shutting down anytime soon. It'll allow me to continue my Let's Play, basically.
It's awesome, by the way.
Thank you. And I hope the Cash App expands. I really hope they see success with this new model, because initially with the triple whammy, it was a terrible title. But now that they have this pricing structure, it's worth looking into. And it's cheap. It goes frequently on sale on Amazon, a couple of dollars off, so you can get anywhere between 19 and 25 bucks or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and the 30% increase, that's 70,000 copies of the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, if you're an MMO and you still have 70,000 players, that's very little in terms of an MMO, but that's still a lot of people. 70,000 people playing the game, that's a lot. That's still a lot of potential to generate revenue, and that jump alone, especially it being 30%, they were functioning, quote-unquote, without this going on. This restructure, but a 30% increase, that has to have met some goals. So I hope the game goes somewhere, because they released a trailer years ago and it was phenomenal. It was the teaser trailer. The game is very different than the trailer, because the trailer is ultra cinematic and it's unrealistic to achieve in any game. However, the content that's in it is amazing, and this game seems to have tons of amazing content. So they're a little different from each other, so my expectations were sort of slashed when I first saw the game. However, even just watching Eddie's Let's Play, I've seen the game has a lot of potential. So I hope it has success. I hope any game, especially in the MMO genre, can push to have its own success, because the genre has grown just completely stagnant, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, the lack of innovation, lack of accessibility, all these subscriptions everywhere. I mean, it's hard to get into it, find a good one, and stick to it, because you got to throw money around all the time, every month.
Yep. And I don't think, because the whole original idea was I'll never really need to play another game, and I don't think that's a viable nor good model. You shouldn't be trying to get people to only play your game. It's just kind of ridiculous, and it's seedy, like a cigarette company or something.
Yeah. It gives you cancer.
Exactly. And then we have the news of Tera going free to play, and Tera Rising. Interesting choice of words, guys. Very interesting.
Terrorizing what? What?
Now, Tera's a game, when I first saw the character design, which is basically like, you see this image, you go, these characters look pretty cool. You see a little bit of gameplay here and there in trailers. I went, that's pretty cool. And then I saw live streams and people actually playing it, and I was like, that's not for me, man. Especially because I had a lot of other games on the horizon, a lot of games I was playing, and this just wasn't for me. But it going free to play, I'll check out pretty much anything that's free to play. Like, I'll at least give it a little shot. So the combat looks pretty cool. It's not turn-based or anything. It's quasi like Guild Wars. You're actually moving and dodging, the way I understand.
Yep, action combat. With some spells being you have to sit still to cast them, which for me is still fine.
Right.
I mean, that's okay, because the rest of the combat is smooth and like Guild Wars, which
Right.
I love Guild Wars combat.
So, in the same way as Secret Worlds, I hope this works out for them. I hope they get, more sales, more people playing, and they can actually keep building what they have, because nothing's worse than an MMO or any game that just totally bombs and they're not able to make new games. The industry suffers, all those hundreds of employees just like go down the drain and often can't find new games because our new companies to work for. So I always want them to succeed. And if it's a free-to-play game and they actually do the free-to-play mechanic, well, I guess the monetization correctly, then I'm always at least interested. Plus, who knows? This game, I feel like this game had a much larger initial sort of player base than Secret World, from my understanding.
Yeah, it was huge, actually. Two turnoffs were the grind, because it comes from the Korean MMO grind, and then the subscription. So people didn't really want to stick around. But now that it's going free to play, it'll probably see higher success than even Secret World is seeing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Plus, Secret World is, for lack of a better word, it's a fairly intellectual game. It's involving very highfalutin, like the Illuminati, Freemasons. All these secret societies are intertwined with actual bits of highly intellectual content. So I don't know if the average player is going to get nor want to have that in their, gaming life. Like, do people want to have their brains racked with puzzles and things 12 hours a day or whatever, So
I mean, granted, these people can just Google everything for the quests
sure.
and just get their answers and go on. But
is that something they want to do?
Right. It's a very niche thing, and I fall in there, so
yep.
I love it.
So I'm curious to see if this will just explode, which I feel like it probably will, and they'll probably have a cash shop for minor things, and they'll rake in lots of cash for it. So that's a good thing, really, as long as it's structured.
Let's not
just
forget
right.
the scantily clad ladies in this game.
Yeah, this lady right here is fully clothed.
Like, this is like a beginner level gear, because when you get to end game gear,
you're naked.
Yeah, there you go. You're naked.
That's the way they structure them. It's basically the higher level you get, the more naked you get.
Yep. Higher armor rating.
It's more agility, obviously.
Obviously. Dodge the blows rather than block them.
Okay, so right in line with these other articles, apparently ArcheAge, a game we've talked a lot about that we're freakishly excited for, is apparently going to have a subscription model in Korea. And it's planned to also come Western to the stateside, which means it'll probably have a subscription. But there are some games that have come out in Korea and then came Western, and they just basically gave a cash shop instead. Will they do that? I don't know. This is the kind of game that I can't believe wouldn't have a subscription, but them announcing that it was going to have one, especially in Korea, was like heartbreaking for me. I really hope they don't. I hope they can find a way around it. Pretty much I want it to be just like Guild Wars, the way they do their gaming pricing shop.
Yeah, even initial buy price is fine by me.
Absolutely. I don't care if it's...
I would totally buy this game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't get a subscription ever.
They could go to 60 or whatever, and I'd be like, okay, I can get behind that. Because the fact that you can shape the world, you can cut down a tree, plant a tree, build a boat, build a house, build a city, take someone else's city. It's amazing, and I really hope they can work it out where we don't have to pay a subscription.
Cities can duke it out. You can get fleets of ships to fight Krakens. And Kraken being like 10 times the size of your ship.
He can one-hit it from what I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, this game, the potential is astounding. Yeah. It's just sad. I really hope they don't come out with just a subscription model.
Yeah. There's just not a place for it anymore in my eyes.
No.
So we've talked about it plenty, and I'm sure more and more news will come, especially with them having a Western release now. Planned, at least. There will actually be some legitimate news coming in English, so we won't have to hear this like second-hand, third-hand news and try and extrapolate from it. We can actually get some real information. But at the very least, the game's going to be amazing. If you are anywhere near Korea, you can probably go ahead and get into the beta for it. We can't over here. We're pretty sure it's like IP blocked over here.
Yep.
So if you can play it, freaking play it. Feel free to let us know all about it. Would love to hear more details. I just, I have to watch videos with subtitles to really get any information.
Gotta learn another language.
Yep. All right, so up next we have player housing in the DC Universe Online. Now, last night I did download the game, and I will be playing it probably right when this cast is over. Because, for one, I was a huge fan of City of Heroes, which invented this genre, MMO superhero genre. I followed them into City of Villains, which was an expansion. I then followed a lot of those guys over to Champions Online, who originally made City of Heroes. And Champions Online, it was a pipe dream. They didn't really pull it off. It's an okay game, though. I can give them that. It still has a following. They still can actually fix a lot of the game, but a lot of the player creation in terms of you could not have any class doesn't really work, and it was unbalanced, especially in the PvP side of things, which is what a lot of people want out of MMOs. So it was kind of broken. And I never got into DC Universe Online because it was kind of at the same time with Champions, and it was also on PlayStation, and I just kind of wasn't vibing with it. And also it was a subscription, and I just didn't have the money. But it's free now, and they've added recently, or are very recently adding a player housing system, which is like almost my number one feature in MMOs is, can I have freaking player housing? I don't know why, I just love it. And if it actually has a use, especially in terms of like a guild hall and in terms of PvP, like in City of Heroes, I think it was in City of Heroes, you could make a base and have missions inside of it, or you could have your guild hall, and you could do very hard missions and get ancient artifacts and put them in your base, and they'd give your base powers. And either if you were a villain, the heroes would come try and take it, or if you were a hero, the villains would come try and take it. It was awesome. It's such a cool idea. You could literally sit there in the level creator and make a map, make it hard, put turrets, put like lava traps and whatever, and people had to try and come take it from you. And you could go there and say, no, I don't think so, and defend it. It's awesome. It's sort of the experience out of the open world warfare of like ArcheAge, but in an instance map, so they can not have to worry about having vast open plains for people to build cities on. They can just say, okay, here's your little instance map you made, go at it. And it basically has, in terms of a game dev company, it's no sweat off their back. They just have to have another instance going. So I hope it goes somewhere, and I'm excited to play it tonight and kind of see how the game plays and how all this intertwines, and if the player housing will actually add something.
I want a bat cave.
Eddie wants a bat cave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, bat cave is probably the most notable housing in the DC universe, and then there's also the Superman's Sanctum of Solitude, is that what it's called?
Yep.
So who knows if it's going to be in depth in terms of keeping to stylistic choices they already have set up, because the Batcave and the Sanctum of Solitude are like freakishly past any. I mean, they're like specially branded to those characters. You have a cave that is the Batcave, like anything that resembles that is ripping it off pretty much. And then a castle made of crystals in like Antarctica. I mean, come on. Like, if that's a choice, I'll be blown away they actually went that far. To be like, you can have a crystalline castle. But we'll see. Okay, so we have NeverWinter, the new NeverWinter game coming out, which is basically a Dungeons and Dragons like realm. I've been completely turned off by this. Not turned off, but I've been totally uninterested in this game. However, this single screenshot of this new class, the heavy weapon character, has me extremely interested in the game. It actually looks really good. From this one screenshot, I can tell this game actually has potential. I've been seeing a lot of things that have been really turning me off. I don't know. I can't even tell you what they were. I might even be imagining it. But this has me excited for this game.
Yeah, never been NeverWinter fan. I own their their games. I bought them on Steam. There was this collection. It was on sale, and I was like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, didn't have any real interest in it. And then they showed this, and you know, class reveals are always exciting. They make me interested in the game. So looking forward to see what other stuff they got.
Cause yeah, I have like Neverwinter Nights and all that. It's okay.
Yep.
It's in terms of an easy user experience, it's not there. It's more like playing Dungeons and Dragons with a UI and 3D graphics, which is fine. I know a lot of people really want that. For me, I want it to be more of a game, and it wasn't there. However, this is appearing to be more of a game. It's kind of hard to tell because there's no UI and everything. But I hope it's there. I hope it is actually a polished game, and then they can go as heavy as they want into the Dungeons and Dragons side of things in terms of really having expansive stats. Because for me, even though I'm not that big into the sort of pen and paper side of things, I love Dragon Age Origins, and then they took away all of the deep mechanics into the second Dragon Age. So I hope
They ruined it.
I hope they find a middle ground in this game. That's what I want. I want the experience, but I want it to be accessible. Whereas for me, the Neverwinter Nights games were very inaccessible and very hard to learn. And I know I came nowhere close to even picking it up, but I managed to get through several levels. So I hope this is the first sign of a lot of good things to come from this game. And from my understanding, it's going to be free to play and everything. So I
Yep,
hope
definitely
it's
gonna
be
at least
good.
check it out.
City of Steam. Now, let's see if I can even find some screenshots. But either way, this is a blog post, a state of the game, basically of what's new in City of Steam. And it is, as I've been told recently by Eddie, it is a browser-based MMO, obviously in steampunk setting. Steampunk for me is, I don't know if it's because I'm a designer or what it is, but I don't like things being designed ways simply to be that way. You know, if I say, okay, you're steampunk, why are you steampunk? And if you said, because steam is the most powerful energy source we have, it's just really dangerous, so I want to make something based off that, I go, I'm sold. You actually know what you're talking about. But if you go, I like the way things look when they're brass and goggles and woo.
Want the gears and the
Yeah.
turning thingies and the lights.
Yeah, that's exactly what I don't like. Because I'll
Yeah, me
see,
neither.
you know, just, you know, like taking a super soaker and spray painting it gold and putting like cogs on it. That's ridiculous. It makes no sense. That's not cool to me. If you enjoy it, that's fine. But to me, it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. However,
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. I was gonna say steampunk for me has to have a purpose,
Mhm.
and that is not just solely aesthetic.
Yeah, it has to be. Usually, it has to be based off the Victorian England sort of atmosphere, which is fine because that's when the Industrial Revolution and steam technology made sense. However, then you have to extrapolate it into what if we just basically never had electricity kind of thing. You know, what if we actually only ever had steam? You wouldn't really have like an iPad, but what would you have instead? What would make your life easier? You'd have some crazy steam-powered abacus thing that you'd keep in your pocket. It'd be hilarious to see. And it would, if you did it right, it would make sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do it right, the genre can be amazing. If you've ever seen the anime Steam Boy, it's really cool. They do a lot of things right, and it's very much just, what if the Steam Age just kept going? What if we never kind of went electric with things? You know, I don't think people would always be wearing suspenders and newsboy hats. That seems kind of unrealistic, but those fashions would probably have kept slightly in the same direction, so you'd have an evolution of that style. So if done right, this could be really, really amazing. And the fact that it's a browser-based game, you know, sign me up, because I'm very into browser-based games right now. They make it very hard to find screenshots for this game on their website.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of concept art.
Well, there's a lot of screenshots. They're just really hard to find. But at any rate, it's oh, hey there. Here's a big one. So I just really hope it actually makes sense inside of the sort of steampunk atmosphere. That's my first sort of requirement for this game, and then it's gonna be free to play and MMO, so that's always you have to wonder, how are you pricing this game basically. So it is the closed beta wrap up, and it goes into open beta. Does it just say soon?
Soon. It's very soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a date.
But there's some videos you can watch, and there's some more information you can read up on, and you can kind of obviously find other content online, but keep an eye on it. And I know I'll be checking out the beta. I'm going to sign up for it and see if I can get in and see if it's something I'm into. And if there's not an NDA, I'll discuss what I can. But other than that, I hope the best for them, and hope they don't have Nerf guns with cogs glued on them. Now then, for what we experienced yesterday in our massacre, the Planetside 2 update. For those who do or not play Planetside 2, you should, because it's awesome. But they recently rolled out one of the large, they basically, for the whole holiday season, they were on vacation, which is fine. They spent several years making this game. They deserved a break. But lots and lots and lots of bugs were found and discovered and exploited, basically. And they released several changes 2 days ago, or a day and a half ago, basically. We were getting trounced last night, for one thing. Not necessarily involving this, but you can't say changing the way, rockets and anti-aircraft stuff works doesn't affect being massacred by aircraft.
Oh, it increased its effectiveness.
Yep. So I guess this isn't the list of all the changes, but this is a list of things that are going to be changing, and several of them were released a day and a half ago. Now, this is covering all these changes. These are all going to be out on the 30th. One thing I'm really excited for is the first thing, increasing performance on lower end GPUs. Now, lots of our friends can play the game, but they have lots of problems with it. And with this game, a lot of stuff relies heavily on your machine, because in an MMO FPS, you can't have everything solely on the server. A lot of it happens client side and then is sent to the server and then sent to everyone else. So you might kill somebody, but they might think they weren't killed because they have a slower connection or not a very good PC. So having the game really perform properly, especially making it perform really well on lower speed internets and lower end GPUs, is awesome. And I really hope that makes a gigantic difference for a lot of people. But then they're also changing the way experience is dished out. So the way it works now is, let's say we shoot on an airplane. The person who gets the last hit gets the kill, and the 2 people before him who hit him get assists. Now that's saying the last 3 people could have shot it with a pistol, but there was an army, like a literal army tank, shooting it with a cannon that does 99% of the damage, and then 3 bullets hit it and do that last 1%, and they get the kill credit. These are the kind of things they're trying to rebalance and restructure, and the way I understand it, it's going to be more of a sort of damage dealt type of situation.
You get what you earn.
Mm-hmm. So that's a way better system. However, if 2 tanks are fighting, they both get down to 99% and just run away, and they don't end up finishing each other off, and let's say a minute and a half later, the enemy tank gets almost to the point where he's about to repair, and then an airplane sees him, shoots 1 bullet at him, kills him, I think he should get the kill. There should be some sort of time frame at which the game understands that person got away and were about to stay alive, and then someone else swooped in and got the kill legitimately, not just I did 99% of the damage and someone finishes him off, But at any rate, in combat, it's a broken system that someone can just completely steal your kill. So that's a change I'm really excited for.
I think we'll see an overall increase in the rate that we gain certs and XP.
Mm-hmm. Because
Granted, we get kill sealed all the time.
Mm-hmm. Because it's
we don't get credited for the amazing amounts of damage that we do.
Exactly. And in the same respect, you know, we get a couple of kills that we go, how the heck did I get that kill? I just sprayed bullets into a room, you know?
Right.
So you end up finishing somebody off, and sometimes you kind of go, I kind of wish that person could just got their kill. They clearly did some work for it, you know? But you end up losing way more kills than gaining back. But for me, in Planetside 1, aircraft were extremely underpowered. They felt almost at a jokeable level, but people, because of that, would form air-only outfits, and they would just run in giant, you know, platoons in the air, like 50 airplanes would come at you, and that worked. And in Planetside 2, I feel like the aircraft realistically are very powerful, and rightly so, but for a game are a little too powerful. So they've done a lot of changes to like flat cannons and anti-aircraft rocket launchers and things to make them more effective at shooting down aircraft. But the aircraft are still just going to decimate ground targets if given the chance. It is a good thing, but it still, as a gameplay, feels a little unbalanced. But it's hard to balance a machine that defies gravity and flies in the sky and shoots rockets at you. But they're working on it. And as time goes on, things like this will flush themselves out after they really are able to think of a good solution, because I can't think of one. That's the sad thing. And then they're also...
I mean, you could, like, decrease the rate of fire, like the Zephyr, the 6-shot, dropping bomb thing, or increase the reloads a little more, which I would guess would make you tear your hair out. I know little things like that, something that affects the rate of fire, because the damage, I think, should be where it's at. You should be able to kill a vehicle with the Dalton, the one-shot anti-vehicle gun, and you should be able to just decimate infantry with these giant grenades from the Zephyr. I mean, for me, that seems right. It's just there's a lot of fire going around.
Yeah, I
don't know.
It all feels right. That's the thing. Like, I can't find a solution because it all feels right. However, when you're just like rolling in your tank and then some lone plane just comes out of nowhere and just rips you to shreds, it makes you insane. But then when you're in the bomber and you see a lone tank, just a little ant on the ground, and you just annihilate it, you go, that feels right. So it's a weird situation, and I have no solution. I think over time there will be better improvements in terms of support systems, because like the Lightning has the Skyguard attachment, which is a flat cannon on a tank. They're not used too terribly much. Now, if they made those somehow better in some way, they would be a better support role and therefore would support people more often. So if there was somehow some sort of experience mechanic for an escort mission by chance, like I can set priority targets. Like I could say, make my vehicle the priority target for the squad to defend. Now, let's say I'm getting shot at by a Liberator or a Mosquito, you know, airplanes, and then that Skyguard tank defends me from getting killed, and he got a very large experience multiplier for defending me. That would be an incentive and a gameplay mechanic that would deter aircraft because people are getting bonuses for defending you. That's the kind of thing that could really work. So, and those are the kind of things they kind of had in the first one with getting defense bonuses for XP and things. So I think this stuff is slowly coming around, but they can't just add all these features and have them be incredibly broken and ruin the game entirely.
Yeah. I think also for ground troops, infantry, heavies, all the rocket launchers except for the Decimator need a boost in damage.
Yeah.
Because if the aircraft and the vehicles are going to have this pretty realistic amount of damage, we have javelins in the States. Javelins tear apart tanks in one shot. I mean, I'm not saying give me a one-shot tank killer weapon. I'm saying give me something that will get me close to that with limited ammunition. Like maybe half the ammunition, so I get 3 shots instead of, what, 5?
It's 4 or 5 for most of them, which to me is almost unrealistic. Who the heck carries 4 or 5 rockets on them?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't need them because they do more damage.
Right.
Give me less ammo. Give me more damage. I could actually take a hit in reload speed on a lot of them with more damage.
Yeah, that would actually make sense. I mean, reloading a rocket launcher isn't a quick experience.
Mm-hmm. But in the game, it's fairly quick. Given in the future and in a video game, you don't want... You think loading a rocket launcher could go by pretty quick. But the thing's pretty heavy. That's kind of the key. And then you're also holding an explosive. You got to be gentle with it, you know. It's a weird situation, but the rocket's really... I mean, you can have someone put down an ammo pack beside you. You have infinite ammo for your rocket launcher. There's where the question comes into play. But at the same time, it could take 5 rockets to shoot down a tank, depending on what rocket launcher you're using. And in certain situations, you have to have that rocket launcher. So, it's going to take lots and lots of serious brainstorming to find these solutions, but they're only going down the right track as I've seen. Because nothing they've done, I've gone, man, that is just stupid.
Except for HE. Explosives that go through walls.
Yes, but I'm not a game coder. I couldn't begin to tell them how to not have those explosives wrap around the walls. But yeah, I feel like they're going to figure out a way for that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to probably... I can imagine them having a system where like a bullet hits a wall and then it turns into 2 other bullets that go in the parallel direction or the perpendicular directions, basically. Because as it goes right now, the shell hits and explodes and there's a sphere of contact and it goes through most walls. However, if you had it hit the wall and then shot out the sides as 2 new projectiles, that could actually really work as like a MIRV, but it wouldn't animate like a MIRV. It would just be the explosion. I think that would make sense, but that's I mean, that's out of my hands. I don't know anything about that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we dig and dissect all this all day.
Yep. But again, if you haven't checked out Planetside 2, you really should. It's an amazing sci-fi shooter, but it's grounded in reality. It's all PvP, but it's like 100 versus 100, 100 all the time. It's free to play entirely. You don't have to pay for any of it at any time. Everything is accessible through gameplay. You can pay real dollars to have your experience increased or to have the rate of generation increased, or you can go ahead and buy all the guns early. But like if you want to have your guns performance increased with scopes, better ammunition, or a tank, your tanks to have like better ammo inside of them or whatever, you have to earn all that. But you can actually unlock the mechanical gun of any kind with money. So that way the grind is taken away.
Now to squash any ideas of pay to win, and this is a PvP game and you're giving access to weapons to everyone if you just buy them. For infantry, everything is a side grade. It's a matter of, do you want something that shoots faster, you want something that reloads faster, you want something that can hit at a longer distance, shorter distance, what have you. Everything is a side grade. Whatever you gain, you lose something somewhere else. Now, I would have argued that vehicles had clear upgrades, but they're squashing that. HE was extremely powerful, but they're increasing the rate of reloads so that you can't shoot as frequently, which is great. No more terrible spawn camping. And plus with this update, I mean, spawns are changing, so there's going to be more protection for the people coming out of the spawn, so that becomes a non-issue. So yeah, it's not pay to win. Because there is no clear update to anything.
Yeah, infantry is the best example as how it's not pay to win because, like I use the Reaper DMR on my medic. It is a rather slow firing, small clip, highly accurate assault rifle. And at close range, you're going to die because it's almost a sort of sniping rifle. Like a fully automatic sniping rifle, almost. So at close range, you're dead because anyone's just pumping bullets into you. But at the mid to long range, I can almost burst fire and kill you before you can even pretend to land one bullet on me, unless you have some sort of similar rifle, which you probably won't, because it's only viable at the mid to long range, which is good for medics because I can stay back, take people out, run up, do a heal, run back. not on the front line the whole time. But then on my light assault, who has a jetpack, and their whole goal is to get in there and just jack with your stuff, I have a GD7F, which is just a Thompson submachine gun, basically. And has 0 accuracy at range. And because of that, I went ahead and put a grip on it for sustained fire, and soft point ammunition, which loses velocity at range. It's hollow points. And a silencer, so it also loses velocity at range. So it's just a bullet hose at close range. But at long range, medium range, you might as well you might as well go up there and stab them, because you're not going to hit them at
You'll
long
be
range.
just as effective.
So you can specialize as much as you want and take large hits in other areas. So, buying a gun won't be like this god weapon. It'll be like a really, really good long-range sniping rifle, but it's a bolt action and one shot, So it is very much worth checking out. I highly recommend it.
10 out of 10. Would buy 10 copies.
Oh yeah, dude. I would have totally paid for the game all day long. Now this is a really interesting situation. We have Eve and Dust 5.15 or 5.14 merging together finally. I believe Dust is now in open beta, but it is fully integrated as far as I'm understanding. I just recently stopped playing Eve, so I can't totally confirm how this works, but I just recently stopped playing Eve. And if you're not familiar with these, Eve is a massive multiplayer space simulator. Not even near future, really. It is sort of not distant future. We'll call it mid-future space simulator, in the sense that you start off and you have a spaceship. You're in a space station, and then you choose your factions and what have you, and then you're just in space. You can be a mercenary, you can be a marine, you can be a scientist, an explorer, you can be a miner, a trader. All the things that you would think would make space civilization work, you can do. But you are a ship the whole time. And after you get more money through these various different kind of jobs, you can buy better ships to the point where you're like a galactic cruiser that costs, billions of in-game dollars, which equals up to be thousands of real-life dollars. So you're rolling around these giant cruisers, and you have these giant corporations you form, and there's no monsters, there's no any of this stuff. There's a few pirates here and there that are controlled by the game, but it's all about the PvP. So it's just giant corporation warfare. So then you have to wonder, okay, I'm taking these systems, I'm taking these planets, how am I just taking them? Like, there's thousands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of these planets and these systems I'm taking. What about them? Like, what the heck is going on there? So then they've made this game, Dust 5.14. It is a PlayStation 3 first-person shooter, not unlike if you had Planetside, but like, a 30-on-30 instance game, like a Call of Duty type game. So basically, like Battlefield 2142 or whatever, like a near future, semi-futuristic Call of Duty, basically. So imagine you have the space simulator, and when you're taking these planets, you can drop down orbital pods, and when those pods land, then you're actually dropping players on PlayStation 3 who are playing Dust 5.14. And they will take these planets for you if they win this Call of Duty-like match. And then in the space sim game, you then obtain that planet, get its resources, and all these types of various things. This is how I've always wanted games to be. I've always wanted this. This goes back to what I've always said, that I want like a SimCiy game where I'm playing SimCiy, and when I'm telling garbage men to go here, and I'm building an apartment building here, I want the garbage men to be someone playing The Sims, and they're living in my city. Like, that is the coolest idea I could think of in gaming. Having the small people in your game be other people playing a different game. Like, if I have farmers off in the far distance of my SimCity, I want that to be somebody playing like an Animal Crossing, like farming, or like a Zynga farm game. That idea to me is super cool. And this is the first example I can think of this going that direction, actually making two fully fledged games with seemingly completely opposite content integrate in a super substantial way. What do you think, Edward?
I really like it. Initially, I wish that Dust was also available for the PC.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that it's not. I mean, all I can say is I saw a ship in EVE Online travel next to a planet, get in orbit, and nuke
Mm-hmm.
this giant landmass. And then all I heard from TeamSpeak inside of that video was the reactions of everyone playing Dust, and it was amazing. And then you saw on the guy that had the ship have a counter of half a dozen people just nuked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, basically, it's the MOAB from Call of Duty that the player calls down with a kill streak.
yep.
It's the exact same thing. Like, from what I understand, the exact same thing, except I have to fly my ship overhead, wait for it to happen. I see a spot, and I actually have to shoot at it. That's so cool. I mean, your kill streaks, your hot drops, your helicopters, all those things in Call of Duty are sent down from space, from the person flying a ship. It's a sign of amazing, amazing things to come, because whether or not this is successful or not, it is already proven successful as a business model and, like, will it sell well? But it's been proven that this is working. It is functioning. They have achieved the game. Like, they did it. It's done. It is now no longer like, oh, can I do a backflip on a dirt bike? Yeah, it's done. Like, we've done it. Now everyone can do it. Like, proven. So
Yep.
now games can start doing this on every
Take
scale.
that step. Take that baby step.
Mm-hmm. So the importance of this to me is far less these two games. It's what they just achieved.
The implications.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird to me that so many people don't know about any of this, but it's okay, because CCP, the company who made EVE and Dust, they don't care. They are so in love with EVE, and I'm sure now Dust, and the way they're integrating. Like, this is just like their dream projects, and they're doing them, and they seemingly make a lot of money on EVE because it's such a weird game, and people put so much money into it, real money, that they, I think, are doing pretty good for themselves. But either way, they're able to make these games, and that's all they want to do, and they're going to keep making really interesting, weird stuff that's going to pretty much change the scape of gaming, as far as I'm concerned. In
One
their
can only
own
hope.
little way. Now I'm going to let you lead with this one.
So speaking of integration with other mediums, Defiance, the game that is tied to a TV show on Sci-Fi, which will be airing in April. There's a trailer now out that showcases co-op gameplay. It is wonderful. Wonderful. I mean, all I can say is watch the trailer. Watch the trailer, get as absorbed with it as you can, the way we have.
And keep in
This is
mind, it's gameplay.
It's gameplay, 100% gameplay. I mean, this is a game to look out for. This is Rift, third-person action shooter, post-apocalyptic world, somewhere in the Bay Area. It's just all good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best way I can explain it, it's literally made by Trion, the makers of Rift, and they've taken a large amount of the way Rift plays, like the whole Rift system, and they've changed it to, instead of coming out of the sky, they're basically coming out of the ground, like various monsters. And so it's Rift, but in, like, the theme of Borderlands.
Excluding the millions and billions of
Right.
guns.
Yeah, excluding the sort of, I mean, like, on, like, a tech level sort of thing, like, we have this post-apocalyptic kind of world, and we have lasery machine guns, and we have jeeps, and humanity has lived on through the world basically ending, and then we have guns and jeeps. Basically, and then it's Rift basically after that. So it's, you know, take the theme of Borderlands, like the way the world is, like the way it kind of looks and the technology you have and things, and just put that on Rift, and it's kind of what you got going on. But it plays more like a Gears of War, really, you know, over the shoulder, third person shooting game. It's pretty awesome. I've seen a lot on it, and the open beta is
in 5 days.
In 5 days. So
if you haven't signed up, go do it.
We're going to be playing. You can come play with us, because as far as I'm concerned, there's parties. I'm not sure how far the parties can get or how large, but at the same time, you can play alongside of us, like in a lot of games. Just like Planetside, you can always come play Planetside with us. However, in Planetside, we can form a platoon and have a whole lot of people with us. But you can always play side by side with us in a game like this. So that's absolutely an option. So get in the beta. It is going to be very amazing. Fact. Science fact. Okay, up next we have, just as a follow-up to what I've been covering in the news as I see it, can the Chromebook basically be a gaming machine? And this is one writer from Massively who's been doing it, taking it on himself to kind of figure that out. Given he is playing primarily only Flash-based sort of MMO RTSs, so he's not playing like Crysis. Now, this is kind of where the question comes. It's kind of weird to explain this. So it's a $250 Chromebook. It's basically a netbook, but it runs on Chrome. Now, Chrome runs Flash incredibly well, in my opinion. And there's hundreds of free games and things that you have on your iPhone that are in Chrome that you can just play for free on your browser. And a lot of awesome games that are on Steam are also in Chrome. It's really weird. And they run very well. Now, they've taken all that and it's on the Chromebook. So, can it run games like Crysis and Planetside? No, absolutely not. It's not possible. But there's a lot of games that I've played in browser and also some downloaded that are very simple in terms of what they require to run. And the Chromebook is incredibly capable of running these games. So anything that could basically run on your iPad can basically run on the Chromebook. So for $250, you have a fully fledged laptop, given it's, you know, small, like 15 inches or so, or 11 inches maybe. It's like a netbook but a little bit bigger. So it's basically what you get out of an iPad minus the touchscreen, and it's a laptop basically. So for me, this is the next level of laptop basically. Like a laptop to me, like there won't be there won't be netbooks anymore, and there won't be laptops anymore as they are right now, because the netbooks are just going to be this. Like there's no reason to not get this over a netbook. And then a laptop only now serves a purpose if you get a powerful one, mobile computing. So if you actually need to do video games mobily or like AutoCAD mobily, then you need a laptop. Otherwise, the Chromebook is your answer. $250, it'll do anything other than high performance tasks, which you actually need a mobile computer for, a laptop. But there's not going to be these $500 laptops anymore. They don't serve an actual purpose. They're not powerful enough to run any game or any intensive software. And they're too powerful to do these simple things, but they also don't run a lot of simple things very well because they've taken so many compromises in other bits of hardware. Whereas the Chromebook, these things are very powerful. It's kind of creepy. And then the whole operating system is just Chrome, basically. So it runs very, very, like the resource usage is almost non-existent. So it's a hard thing to integrate into sort of the news, but at the same time, this to me is the news. This is like super important. And then also, if you don't have to have AAA titles like Crysis and stuff, and you're more into the sort of like Facebook side of gaming, this is all you need. This is the only computing you're ever going to need, because it runs those games above and beyond the call.
And then you have the growth of browser-based games. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is perfect for them. I mean, I don't know how much an iPad can handle, but I imagine it can handle these browser games too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you got your Chromebook, which will be cheaper, I imagine, and still do everything extremely well.
And see, what I would like to see is him try and play like City of Steam, for example, on this, just to see what it could, if it could do it.
Yeah.
Because if it's, you know, if it's browser based, it's entirely possible. Given this thing has a 16 gigabyte hard drive, because it's not intended to hold these type of things, but you can
Right,
even
and it doesn't have to,
right.
because a lot of for the most part, City of Steam is streamed.
There you go. So this is something that is very early stages. And given there's been other Chromebooks, but this one is the most viable one at 250, and as the power it actually delivers. You can try them out in most Best Buys, but this is something that's going to completely change gaming past, like, if you're into desktop gaming, this will not affect you in the slightest. But if you are at all like a laptop user, an iPad user, iPhone user, and a gamer of any kind, this is extremely revolutionary. And especially with Chrome having so many games integrated into it now, like that Air Mech game, I know you play it some.
Yep.
That's an awesome game, and it should run amazingly well on this. And really, to me, that doesn't feel like a browser game or like a free-to-play game. It feels like a really pretty cool game, a solid game, like a $15 to $20 kind of game.
Yep.
And it should run seamlessly on this with, you know, Pandora and whatever have you running in the background, all of it running in the background well. And you can have all your music and things on external hard drives, networked in your house, giving you all your music, streaming it right to your computer, no problem. So this to me is sort of really it's more, the fact that it can run these things on its own amazes me, but also the potential for it to be an access point for streamed content, including games, is kind of a big deal. And I would love to have one if he wants to buy me one.
Get two of them.
Yeah, we'll take two. Well, we'll take two of the two Chromebooks. Okay. So previous Project Fiona has been officially named Razer's Edge. It is a tablet. It is a hardcore gaming tablet from Razer. Now, we're talking price points of $1,000 and $1,300 with an i5, 4 gigs of RAM, Windows 8, 64 gigabyte solid state drive, or a i7, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabyte solid state, or 256 gigabyte solid state for the 1300, and capable of running Dishonored at 60 FPS. Now, that is a gaming machine.
At an actually really good price point too.
Yeah, that is like, what if someone would have said for $1,000 I'm getting an i5, 4 gigs of RAM, Windows 8, and the SSD. The only things I would say, okay, you need more RAM, and you need another hard drive, like a 500 or a terabyte drive, which is another, $150, $200. So take away 15% of the cost and maybe a little bit of the performance and put it into an iPad instead of an actual desktop computer, and you have the Razer's Edge. It's kind of freaking me out. I don't know really how it's possible. It is a little confusing. And then you also have these various docking attachments, which I think are an extra cost. But
the controllers, yeah.
I believe they're an extra cost, and I believe they get to be slightly pricey, but I don't know how much, but at any rate, it is an actual docking station with controllers attached to it. So you don't need them, but I'm sure they are, for any kind of shooting game, a complete necessity. But I think they're already out, or they're coming out in the next very short couple of months. So, it says both models are out. So, I mean, you can go buy this. It's out. Like, this isn't like, you can't wait to see this when I'm 50. I mean, go buy it. Tell me how it runs. Like, I'm not, when I say iPad, I mean, it's a slate. It's a tablet. I don't think it's actually anywhere near as thin as an iPad, but that's irrelevant. I mean, if I can put this thing into a laptop bag, basically, like, we're good to go. But I mean, it looks like it's a couple iPads thick, and it's the same overall concept. And it's a powerful gaming machine as far as the specs are concerned. Obviously, you can have a laptop with the same specs, but it won't run very well because of all the weird corners they've cut. But it's Razer. They're a gaming company. I don't think they're going to ruin their company over this. I think this is actually going to perform as they're saying. And
this is something I would have liked a couple of years ago when building my machine because of art and everything. This is a tablet. I mean, I could draw on this thing and do my gaming.
Yeah, the thing that also is super interesting is the fact that this will actually play a heavy role into like streaming games. And I don't mean like Twitch TV. I'm talking about like it's already happening. It's already been happening for several years. But if you think about it, if you're not familiar with streaming games, let's say you want to play World of Warcraft, but you only have like an iPad. You can download these various apps that you then subscribe to a company. Let's say you pay $20 a month or something, and they run your World of Warcraft game for you. But you are seeing the game played on your iPad, and you're playing it. And then as you're saying, move forward, use Ice Spell, you instantly tell the server to do that. It does that, and then it's showing you the whole time a game stream that you're controlling. So, you know, let's say you're watching Twitch TV and someone's streaming a game. Imagine if you actually could backseat game and you could do it in real time, play their game for them. That's what you could be doing in game streaming. And these companies exist. You can do all these things. It depends on the game. It depends on the company. It depends on a lot of things. Obviously, like Planetside, it wouldn't work. The lag is there. There's too much latency. You would just get killed over and over and over again. But in like an RTS or a turn-based game or other kind of games, you can do it. Absolutely. It completely makes sense, and it's a totally viable option. So this is going to be like one of the very first iterations of a machine that is going to be heavily designed for in terms of game streaming. And over here, which is kind of where I thought they would have taken this instead of the route they did, I kind of imagined the Razer's Edge being something more like this. But this is the NVIDIA's Project Shield. This is really, really intriguing. They sort of took the success of iPhone gaming, basically, like mobile phone gaming, because it's become a very powerful system now. And then they took these sort of what I considered honestly to be the failures of things like the PlayStation, the PSP, and like the Nintendo DS's and stuff. I don't think they're successful. They sell a lot of units, so they are having success, but I don't think personally they are successful. I don't think they're really achieving mobile gaming. This sounds like this is going to achieve mobile gaming. They're using the new NVIDIA Mobile Tegra processor. This is like taking the last thing we just looked at, the Razer's Edge, and putting it solely into an Xbox controller with like an iPhone screen on it. I can't begin to tell you how intriguing this device is. It's like, for me, the Nintendo systems are still Nintendo systems. They're super basic. They cost a fair bit of money, and you're not getting any sort of high fidelity gaming out of it. It's still this sort of like almost browser-based kind of gaming. It still feels dated. The PSP and everything, they have modern games at low fidelity. It confuses me, and I don't know the appeal of that. It's like playing a game with broken textures or something. And then there's this, which it looks like a fully functional Xbox controller with a screen attached to it. And then, you know, somewhere underneath the controller or something is all, or inside the controller, probably the whole entire system, you have this very, very powerful machine. And they're not trying to make it slim. I'm sure having a PSP is super convenient at times, but it's still really long and cumbersome. And if you don't have it in a case, it's probably going to get broken. Whereas you have this, which is an Xbox controller which ideally, yeah, it's not gonna fit in your pocket, but do you end up actually carrying your PSP in your pocket? That seems unreliable. I don't think people actually do that. You probably have some sort of backpack or something. In which case,
it's too big.
Yeah, so in this case, there you go. This thing can fit. This thing can fit in a lot of pockets. Not any sort of skinny jeans, but you could put it in a pocket of kinds. But really, a backpack, or if you're going on a trip, you have it in your bag, in your car somewhere. This is an incredibly viable option to mobile gaming. I don't know, for me, mobile gaming is either the sport of the rich and bored, or the I can't afford other stuff, so I just happen to have a mobile thing because it's cheaper and I can still play games.
Which is weird because mobile gaming is just as expensive sometimes as console gaming or low-end PC gaming.
Which kind of comes to one of the more interesting points of this is they're not charging a licensing fee to developers. Whereas if you wanted to put a game on like the Nintendo DS, you have to pay Nintendo, 10% of all your sales basically for that game to then have it on there. Whereas with this, they are just allowing the developers to make games for it, sell games for it, put it on the App Store or whatever have you. They're just able to create the games for it with absolutely no cost of development. And they're, in doing that, taking a large hit sort of on the actual sale of the item, so you would think. But they're actually claiming that they're being so creative or what have you with the development of the item that they're actually going to be making all their money on the actual hardware sales. Whether or not this is going to be just pools of gold that Scrooge McDuck can swim in or not is unknown, but if they turn any profit on this device in the actual hardware sales, that's all they're going to see. And apparently it's going to be enough for them to keep making more of them. So it's kind of unsure how expensive it's going to be, or, is this going to be like $1,000? Like, I don't think so. I honestly think this is going to be under 300.
Really? I'd imagine somewhere close to 5.
I don't know. I'm not seeing that. I wouldn't be surprised, but I honestly don't see it. I think
it's running on that Tegra 4, right?
Tegra 3.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, that would make sense then.
Or wait, no, Tegra 4. Sorry, it's Tegra 4. So I don't know. I can't tell exactly how it's gonna work out, but I feel like it's gonna do very well, even if it's $500. If it's $500, I imagine it's far more powerful than I'm actually estimating. But
it is. Well, it's gonna run games like Hawken.
Yeah, Hawken.
Right? Mm-hmm. Hawken is. I mean, it doesn't have a big blueprint or footprint on my machine as it is, and I imagine Tegra 4 is powerful enough to handle it no problem. Mm-hmm. And it's a very high fidelity game. It looks really good. It could play AAA titles, I think. I think it'll do just fine.
And I mean, it also has like an HDMI out port, so you actually can play this on your TV. So this is kind of also a look into what if my Xbox was just the controller and it could plug into the TV, and that's that. Here we go. My monitor has HDMIs on it, so I could plug this into my monitor, so I could just, I could have a Chromebook right here, and I could plug it into my monitor, have a bigger monitor with my Chromebook, and do all my college work or whatever. And then if I wanted to play some Hawken, I could just plug this into another HDMI port and be full screen playing Hawken as if it's you're playing on the computer.
Mm-hmm. So, practically a mini console just in a controller.
Mm-hmm. So once I see exactly how it performs, it'll make more sense to me. But as it sounds, I feel like it's going to be wildly affordable in some aspects. But if it was the $500 to even $700 range, it wouldn't surprise me. I would just at that point go, that thing's going to be crazy powerful. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure without having played it or seen it played, with split screen of like someone playing it with also the game capture. I need to see that before I can make any sort of real analysis of it. But I love the idea, and it's clearly, the thing's coming out. These aren't, theories.
It's not concepts. It's a thing.
Yeah,
this is gonna exist.
Save your money because it's coming real quick. Okay, so speaking of the streaming gaming, we have NVIDIA's new grid server system. This is solely built for the streaming of games, and they already have 6 people lined up for this. And I mean people, I mean like, if Netflix was streaming games, 6 partners along the lines of people like Netflix, like Gamefly could be one of these partners. So, and given it's a bunch of companies I never heard of, Playcast and CyberCloud, I don't know who these people are. They're game streaming people, but they've already signed up to use the NVIDIA grid servers. So it's a single grid server can do 24 game streams, like HD game streams. Like 24 people could be playing Crysis on one grid server. Now, you can have an entire tower of 20 entire servers. So, we're talking like an 8-foot tower or whatever, and that's 24 of the servers, and they each can do about 24 different game streams. And they're saying that these are 36 times more powerful than the first generation cloud gaming. Now, 36 times, that's insanely large improvement. Like that, because cloud gaming was viable. Like it was viable last year. People were doing it and they enjoyed it. Like playing games like World of Warcraft, fully enjoying the game with a little bit of latency. Now, 36 times more powerful than what I was seeing people do last year and enjoying. That's like a 15 to 20 year jump by modern standards. Like that's ludicrous. I have no idea what this is going to cost the individual user at all. No clue. But the technology.
I'm seeing a really affordable service here.
Yeah, it can be outlandish or it could be incredibly affordable. Because I mean, you have to weigh the cost of, do I buy? Because in the picture they basically have an iPad or a Razor's Edge or something, a Chromebook looking device, and a TV, which would have some sort of streaming utility box, like an OnLive box or something. And so each one of these devices is relatively cheap and is essentially a display with a control unit of some kind that you never actually have to upgrade. And then, so if you take that and you add the subscription cost of maybe the game you're playing, probably not, and then also you'll have to own the game in some fashion though, and then you take the fee of the streaming service. Now let's say it's $24 a month. Let's just throw that number out there. Imagine never having to buy a computer again, or not every year or not every few years. So let's say a computer costs $2,000 to be able to play Crysis on max settings. Okay, now when Crysis 10 comes out in 4 years, are you going to be able to play it on that computer? Possibly not. So that's possibly another $1,000 to $2,000. The question is it worth constantly upgrading, or is it more worth just paying this $24 a month or what have you to stream the game to your iPad and just play it on the iPad with a Bluetooth controller?
I figure that'll be dependent on connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of service do you have for your internet, basically? I see this when Google Fiber comes out.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the cheapest way to game.
Yep.
Hands down, there is no scenario where this will not be the cheapest way to game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no more hardware to worry about, no more upgrades. All you have to worry about is the day that your machine dies.
Mm-hmm.
The one machine, and that could be years. I mean, I built my computer to last me, a decade. It's because PC gaming is pretty slow at advancing, but when we get connections like that, I mean, oh my god, this is going to be so cheap.
If you look at the Project Shield, it's a controller with like a Xbox 360 in it, seemingly. And if you basically rip the screen off of it, you wouldn't even have to, but basically it's going to have, I think it's going to have some kind of internet connectivity, the Shield. It almost has to.
Yeah.
And it has HDMI
it's going to be
out.
wireless.
So with HDMI out, you could plug that bad boy into a 60-inch TV with a 30-foot HDMI cable and your little Xbox controller is streaming any game you want to your TV. I mean, this mixed with things like the Shield make every other form of gaming nearly obsolete. Because what's the point of having all of this stuff that I'm like, if you could even see the amount of crap I have on my desk, like a mouse, 2 monitors, keyboard, a mini keyboard, all this stuff, you know, my huge computer, all my external hard drives. With Google Fiber and these streaming services and stuff, it all becomes obsolete. It's all you need is a screen, a controller, and these subscription fees in your internet, and you're just like...
And a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah. Whatever controller system you want.
Mm.
I thought it was a ridiculous concept until I started hearing about Google Fiber, and then also with this being a 30 times performance increase, 36 times performance increase, it's like that is like
potential.
That was me saying like maybe in 30 years it'll be worth anything, and then now it's like we're just jumped 30 years. Cool, awesome, thanks. You just made me look like a fool. Okay, so up next we have something that I think is really interesting. I don't know if this is almost solely based on from my art school experience of learning about the caves, which were these in any fashion. Basically, you walk into a room and the walls are TV screens, and it's various things are happening to you. It could just be a panoramic photo all around you, so you feel like you're in Rome looking at the Colosseum, or it's like you move your hand and a sensor sees it and like the wall seemingly gets closer or further away to your hand based on what you're doing. It's really interesting ways of making a room into a 3D sort of game almost, but they did it in all different kinds of ways. Now, this is basically Microsoft called the Illuma Room. To me, it's take a Kinect, put it in the back of the room, and make it a projector instead of a camera. It still has a lot of different functionality to it, like, you know, it still plugs into like an Xbox or whatever, but I have a wicked sneeze coming on deck. Go away, sneeze. I think I killed it. Okay. So imagine you're playing like Halo, right? So what's outside of the screen frame, you can't see. And if someone shoots a bullet at you, it essentially hits the screen and then vanishes past the screen. If you were wearing the screen on your face, it would seem like the bullet was hitting you and or going past your face. But with you being, let's say, 5 to 10 feet away from your screen, these bullets hit the screen and there's no sense of immersion. They just fall flat. Especially if the bullet hits the screen and doesn't travel past the frame. There's no sense of an actual trajectory. But this thing, the Illuma Room, is basically a projector you put, I guess, behind your head, and if that bullet goes and hits the frame, it then continues past the frame and is projected onto your wall, onto your ceiling, onto the next wall, and it travels around the room past you in a 3D experience. Now, since it's a projector on any various amount of walls, furniture, what have you, it may just look like a white streak. It may not look like a bullet. It won't be like, you know, an LED TV screen. But in a black room on white walls, obviously better performance. But the idea for me that I think is interesting is having a very large TV. I'm talking minimum of 50 inches, more closer to 60 inches, which, you know, is not that unrealistic. That's like $1,200 nowadays for a decent LCD 60-inch TV. And then if it's 3D, which is obviously more money, but a 3D TV, the things inside of the actual screen are 3D and super crisp and moving around in and out of various forms of focus. So anything outside of that is going to be out of your peripheral vision or it's not going to be in your focus vision. It's going to be all peripheral. You're not going to pay any attention to it because there's so much going on inside of the frame. Now imagine having a projector projecting all around the frame, giving you a heightened almost 3D vision around the periphery. So, you know, I'm 3D, everything's coming out of the screen. Well, imagine if some of those bullet trails and things were also kind of coming out of the screen in a slightly more realistic fashion. That's about the only extent this thing serves to me right now. I think it's a very interesting addition to sort of the 3D gaming experience. it seems extremely gimmicky and kind of ridiculous and adds no real value. But if you're going ahead and getting something like a 3D TV, you've already jumped into a whole nother realm of I'm spending money on things that don't really aid the experience. They just like are changing it. Given 3D's evolving constantly and is definitely changing, but this is almost a novelty. I mean, it's definitely a novelty, but it's almost to the point of being ridiculous. But I think the possibilities for future expansion of it could be really interesting. What do you think, old chap?
Well, basically that. It's a gimmick. And right now, as it stands, not interested in the least. Maybe in the future, this could get very interesting very fast.
Because, yeah, if you watch this trailer, I mean, they definitely show it off in various situations. Like, they go ahead and open with it, like, showing on bookcases, and it does nothing. It doesn't show up at all. Like, the bookcase just hides it completely. But on the walls, it kind of adds to it. So if this thing is like 100, $120, like the price of a Kinect, it's at least in the realm of, I guess I could try that. I don't see it possibly being under 100. That doesn't seem realistic at all. For all I know, it could be $50 and I could eat my words. Because it definitely doesn't... You're not looking at like a DLP cinema projection. This thing is like, you know, one of those things you plug into the wall and it shows you the stars on your ceiling. But maybe in color. I don't even know if this thing's in color or not. But it's intriguing, and it is something very much outside the box. And with people like the guy from R2 Studios, who does all the different integrations of technologies, he might find a way to actually make this super interesting. And this could actually be something that transcends like Xboxes and goes into, you know, like Blu-rays. Given, I think, what it projects on the screen is an extrapolation of the 3D world in a game. So it requires a game, sort of. But if movies were to be developed around a system like this that integrates with the 3D TV in a more realistic way,
that would be intense.
It could
IMAX
be really cool.
Experience at home.
Pretty much. But then take all of this stuff and then remember the Oculus Rift is coming out soon. Is any of this worth it anymore? I don't know. That's
what I was thinking with VR. I mean, you don't need this gimmicky projector. But there really is no point for it. But
then I guess at that point the question is then, at what point does let's say you have at what number of people does the Oculus Rift become too expensive to have that many people in one room? You know, is it better to have a 60-inch TV, all of this crap, you know, like if you want 10 buddies watching you play, you can't have 10 Oculus Rifts. That's going to cost too much money. This actually, at the cost point, is more affordable. But will the Oculus Rift just be better? You know, so it's hard to tell right now, but this is a very interesting idea. But I feel like with things like the Oculus Rift coming out, it's already outdated.
Yeah, I mean, we got to look at price points. We got to look at the future of the tech. I mean, there's a couple of factors that have to go into weighing what would be better for you.
Especially if you look at things like the Kinect, where all of the tech they were showing off with their original demos and stuff, none of those things are even what people care about. People like Fruit Ninja. That's all they care about. That's the best thing. And they didn't want to make Fruit Ninja because they thought Kinect was going to be terrible. That people at the Brick Force or whatever, Brick Studios, whatever, Red Brick Games, who made Fruit Ninja, they didn't want to make it for Kinect, but they said just take it and try and make it. They put the game into the engine for Kinect and changed like one setting, and they said it was perfect and they loved it. They're like, we didn't think it was going to work at all, and we didn't have to change a thing. It just worked perfectly. And I was like,
amazing,
awesome. And it's insanely fun if you have a Kinect. Okay, Steam Box. How excited are you for the Steam Box, Eddie?
Pretty stoked, actually. This is an interesting, less hardware, more concept.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the potential for it. If you really think about it, it's just a mini PC, and it's going to be able to do anything that your desktop PC can do. But it's going to be a lower price point, have higher accessibility, um, and it can go wherever you go. At least that's the idea.
Right.
At CES, there's like nothing but prototypes for Steam boxes. Even things that aren't, you know, promoted as Steam boxes are being called Steam boxes, like your Shell and your Razer Edge. Because anything can, you know, by concept be a Steam box. Like these are mobile gaming platforms, powerful mobile gaming platforms.
Oh yeah.
But the idea behind a Steam box is that you're going to get something that isn't stuck in a strict form factor. This thing you can upgrade. It has like 1 million USB slots, which is actually more like 6 or 8 or something. At least that's the idea. Well, that's the Xi3, that prototype has that many. And then it's going to have this whole streaming of games, like like what Nvidia's doing, but it's can be like LAN, and you have 6 people connect to this thing, connect 6 TVs to it, and everyone will have their own experience. It won't be the same game. It'll be like you're playing 6 copies of this game in one room on one machine, and all you have to do is hook up your TVs to it. And then you got the ideas that Gabe is throwing out. He wants biometric feedback, which is extremely interesting. Something that I felt was extremely gimmicky and not worth a damn except for like security, like, you know, thumbprints for your laptop to lock and unlock it, retinal scans and whatnot and all that stuff. But the idea for it on a gaming platform, I can't even begin to explore the potential for that. And then he has, what else did he mention?
So speaking of the whole like LAN party on one machine, like hooking up like 6 TVs to one unit, you know, that's the stuff that it almost makes no sense right now that I can't have like 35 keyboards and mouses on my computer running like 35 different windows of Chrome. That I could easily power those different things. It's just the processors right now aren't structured to allow you to instance your experience, and it makes no sense. It should allow you to do that. So it's going to be a change across all computing in general, but the Steam box is saying, yeah, okay, well, now instead of having to have split screen, we're talking like you could have, you know, 8 40-inch TVs in here on one machine, all Bluetooth controllers, and it'll run well because a lot of games, you know, again, if you're talking AAA new Crisis title, maybe it's a little bit different story. Who knows how it will actually perform. But if you're talking like, I mean, Minecraft, Terraria, any game like that, it's as many people can play that on one of these units as you can fit TVs and controllers onto it easily. So, you know, I always hate when I have like a game I get and I find out it's actually a split screen game on the PC, like the new Rayman. It's not online, it's split screen. So someone has to use a keyboard, somebody has to use a controller or a mouse or something. It's a super inconvenience where I could have had it on one monitor and then on another monitor, and each person with their own controlling periphery.
Yeah. I mean, they also intend to make their own Steam box. It's a bunch of companies are making Steam boxes, but they also intend to have their very own version of it. It's going to be on Linux, but not restricted to Linux. If you want to use Windows 8, you're allowed to. You can install whatever OS you want of those two. I imagine Apple would not like them installing whatever cat they have on their machines.
Lag 5000. But for me, you know, it's Linux and everything, which I'm not familiar with Linux, but it sounds like a pain in the neck, but it also sounds like people love it. But at any rate, it's going to be like if you have Steam and you see in the corner there's the big picture, which is you basically click that and it becomes the first version of Steambox, but it's on your computer.
Yep.
So Steambox is just going to evolve out of that singular area, that big picture. That is Steambox. That's where it's starting. So if you have your computer hooked up to a TV or whatever, and you click that big picture and it becomes more accessible as a console unit, basically, that's what we're talking about. But they're actually releasing Steam as more of an OS, basically, to put on these like Android Linux devices, and it just becomes a fully functional gaming computer with the addition of all this random software Steam is also selling. All these Photoshop-esque, modeling programs and things that are all being added onto it. It's going to become, in my eyes, Steam is just going to become an OS. It's going to be like, Chrome's going to be its own OS soon. And, well, it is, but it's going to be like more so in the more intense fashion. And then you're going to have things like this, and they're all going to integrate incredibly well. Because if you look at it, Mac basically made the iPhone, and that became so easy and accessible and powerful that they're retrograding the like OS X stuff to be more like it. And eventually they'll be the same thing. So Windows 8, they said, okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to make the Windows 8 phones, and then get Windows 8 rolling, and everyone's going that same route of a unified OS that is going to have a watered down mobile version, but the same thing. And then you have Steam, which is like, we're going to jump in on this, and it's going to be like open source, basically.
Yep. I mean, I have high hopes. This thing sounds like it's going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried about a Molyneux effect where he's making promises that he can't back, but this is Gabe, and this is Steam. They have the money to do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, yeah. My biggest hope is that people who I go, oh, man, you got to check out Planetside. They go, oh, cool. Is that on Xbox? I'm like, no, it's on PC. Oh, I don't have a computer at all. I'm like, oh, I hate you. They can go, oh, is it on Steam? I go, yeah. They go, oh, cool. I'll download it on my Steam box today. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
We've done it. Yes. Everyone can PC game now.
Yes. This is
gonna make
the future master race.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I wish I had that.
He took that wallpapered heart.
I love it.
And that's why he's making a Steam box.
I love it.
My other concern is controllers for this thing, but he has already stated he intends to have a high precision controller that is just smooth.
I mean, they're using Logitech stand-ins, which is obvious because they're good controllers and they fit their functions right now.
Yep.
Whether or not they are making them or they're having someone like Logitech or Razer make them, who knows? I could see Logitech or Razer making them if they have. I honestly I would see more of them scooping up somebody from one of those two companies. Those are the two most obvious choices for me. Would be Logitech or Razer. I could see them just snatching one of those dudes up. So,
but at the same time, you don't need a controller. I mean, this thing can still take a mouse and keyboard.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
so, it'll be interesting.
They have the whole section now for controller games. So these are all people think,
and it's not bad from what I've tried.
Yeah. But I just think it's funny that people aren't seeing all this stuff as that's Steambox stuff. A section for controller games and a section of big picture stuff. That's just Steambox coming out. That's what it is. So people keep thinking Steambox isn't happening. I don't understand. They denied it coming out this year. That means it's coming out. They have prototypes for it. They brought to CES. It actually physically exists. And then there's 2 cases on Steam itself that are wildly, there's multiple cases, wildly obvious that it's a real thing.
I really like the XI3 design, that little tiny brick.
Yeah.
So many inputs. Or outputs.
Yeah, the back code's kind of crazy
both
looking.
Inputs and outputs. Yeah, it's amazing. It looks good. And if you want to upgrade that thing, it's going to be running USB 3.0, so you can stick like a external hard drive if you need higher capacity.
Oh, yeah.
You can swap the RAM inside. I don't know much in the way of what they're doing with the GPU. And I mean, installing a different OS is just a matter of flashing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be very familiar.
And they're
It's
gonna be
just gonna
such
fit in the palm of your hand.
the hardware and software are gonna be so powerful that chances are you're no longer gonna need like a Blu-ray player and stuff. You're just gonna be able to stream all your content, and it's gonna be like amazing. It might even
Oh
have a
yeah,
Blu-ray drive on it for all I know. Depends on the. I guess it depends on the model.
yeah. I mean, there could be multiple models. It could be a high price point, mid price point, low price point. Low price point maybe having like 4 gigs of RAM, having I don't know, a 16 gig SSD,
Mm-hmm.
and CPU and GPU still being just as powerful as the mid and high,
Yep.
whereas the differences are RAM size um,
Because
of your drive.
the thing about console gaming, it's nice having a unified experience, but at the same time, some people might only want to play Fruit Ninja or Terraria or Minecraft, and they don't want to spend all that money. They might want to get
Yeah,
the base model with very low RAM. That's all they need. So I think it's better because at the same time, someone can barely afford an Xbox, and then they have like dial-up internet that they're still using, basically. So how's that a unified experience? It's not controlled. It doesn't work. So that whole idea to me is illogical, and this is just going to be the way things are going to evolve. Now then, let there be Wii U sales? Question mark.
mm,
So the Wii U has been interesting. For one thing, there's a 5 GB patch on Christmas Eve. So you have, millions of people waking up on Christmas Eve or Christmas morning wanting to play their new Wii U and realizing that they do a 5 GB patch. That's going to bog down the patching servers like you wouldn't believe, no matter what. If there's not latency, there's queue times. Holy crap. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But they had to get that patch out before Christmas. Otherwise, they would have had massive, massive returns for a product that didn't have all the online features that were the only features that it's supposed to have. They might as well have had the thing not turn on without the patch. Like, it was a big lack of features without this patch. So that alone was very confusing and just utterly weird. And then their sales have not been bad, but when it's following the Wii, people were expecting kind of amazing things. But in the first week in the United States, or North America that is, there was 400,000 units sold. Those are still really good numbers, but we're talking companies that are spending just billions of dollars into this, needing the high sales for one to just turn a profit, and two, the higher the sales, the more news they get, therefore the better the product seems and the more sales they're going to get. And then in Japan, in December alone, it was 638,000. The numbers, 400K to 638K, those aren't that big of a jump. That's not that crazy. And that's for, first week in North America and December in Japan. So, if it was not that good in North America and like killing it in Japan, it's usually kind of how it goes, especially for Japanese consoles. But it wasn't really that case. It was just kind of like okay sales, the Wii. I think the Wii just like had, I don't know, 8,000 billion consoles sold in the same amount of time. I'm actually not sure. 100 million units of the original console is how much the Wii's have been sold. So they've sold just over 1 million of the Wii U, and they have sold 100 million Wii's. So obviously the Wii's been out longer. However, that kind of shows you what we're talking about. And I remember to get the Wii originally was near impossible, like especially for a very long time. So it is not living up to its predecessor in any fashion. And it's hard to tell if it will based on these numbers. It seems like it won't. It'll just kind of glide them through. Kind of like, I guess more like the GameCube. Sneeze, sorry. Oh, that one was not going anywhere except out. So, to me, the GameCube, in my eyes, didn't do well. I didn't enjoy it. I had no desire to ever play it. I just didn't like it. I didn't like what they were doing with it. The 64 was amazing. Didn't like the GameCube. The Wii I thought was really cool. They went somewhere new, and it did amazing. And the Wii U is really weird. I didn't think the Wii was weird, really. I just thought, like, why are they doing that? It seems unnecessary, but people loved it. It was a insanely softcore gaming, like, realm was opened up. And this is, like, I can't explain this at all. I don't know how I wouldn't buy this for my mom. I wouldn't buy it for my grandma. I wouldn't buy it for my wife. I wouldn't buy it for myself. I wouldn't buy it for my brother. I don't know who the heck I would buy this for. I don't get it. And the sales are kind of reflecting the same thing, I feel. But they could have one title, a sort of Halo or a Mario Party, that utilizes this thing to the max and will completely be a console seller for it.
I don't know.
When are you getting your Wii U?
I don't touch anything Nintendo.
Understandable.
The last Nintendo I've ever touched was
What?
Game Boy Color. Remember those days?
A while ago, yeah.
Yeah. That is the last thing.
Wow.
Been a while. Oh wait, no, I lied. I touched a GameCube at a history museum in Chicago in the video game history section.
I did play a GameCube in a Circuit City when it first came out, and I was utterly disgusted with myself. I felt offended and outraged.
That controller was terrible.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It was the most ridiculous looking thing I've ever seen. But people loved it, and if you loved it, that's fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. I know people who love the various Zeldas or what have you. Cool, that's fine.
I love Zelda. It was one of my first gaming experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It was intense back then.
Yeah, I'm sure it holds up just as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, as we all know, we all suffer from severe cases of cancer because of gaming, because that's the truth. And science has proven that if you play video games, you get cancer, right? Or is that crazy, misinformed, scandalous lying? I think it's the second one.
I don't know. Cancer. It's a pretty big deal. Might be true.
So this article basically is saying this original article basically said what I just said. To sensationalize gaming. Now, what it goes on to say in quieter words is that living a sedentary lifestyle makes you unhealthy and they can make you have cancer, which is the most ridiculous connect the dots I've seen in a long time. So I'm sitting in this chair, working, playing games, doing these various things. Yeah, I'm sitting here not running around, not getting healthier while I'm doing this. And yeah, I eat a lot of chocolate and drink a lot of coffee and do various things that aren't healthy. Now, take away the gaming part and put me in a cubicle in some office building. I'm doing literally the exact same thing, if not worse. Throw on buckets of stress. Yet, this is gaming that's the problem, not working in an office somewhere. But, you know, working in an office in a cubicle, eating nasty vending machine food and being stressed isn't unhealthy and won't cause cancer. But having adrenaline, making your heart slightly healthier from my understanding, and actually, you know, exercising your eyes, your hands, these are things that give you cancer, apparently. So I just understand where the sitting in a chair and gaming and working in an office and dying slowly but surely is which one gives you cancer and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the source of the cancer.
Because at first I genuinely thought they were trying to say it was the screen giving off, because, you know, radiation is like my hands are radiating heat. That is radiation. And then my monitor is radiating heat and light. That is radiation. I thought they were trying to say somehow the screen was giving off a bad radiation causing like cancer. I genuinely thought that was what they were trying to say. And the second that's not what it was, I was like, what in the world are y'all talking about? And they're like, oh, you become a big fatty sitting in your chair and you get cancer. I was like, that is ridiculous. Worst case scenario, blood clot in my leg, stroke.
And that's if you sit still the entire time, like literally no movement.
Yeah.
Like this one college kid who was doing a Halo marathon, I believe, on the Xbox, quite literally sat in the same position for nearly a day.
Mm-hmm.
Barely any movement. Of course he was getting a clot.
Yeah.
Of course there was going to be some risk of detrimental effects to your health. Don't sit still.
Yeah.
I mean, humans are not intended to sit still all the time.
I would say I weigh 130 pounds and I am real bony. If I sit still too long, it's just my bones and my pelvis are going to pierce through my skin and down to China. Like, I got to move a little bit. So I don't know, maybe having a little bit of a caboose helps. I can't begin to even go there, but I'm real skinny, real bony, and I have to move around. So I don't understand how you could not have pain sitting the exact same way and therefore having immediate, blood clot results. But I honestly have never... Okay, growing up in 5th grade, I knew one kid with cancer. I honestly can't think of an instance of anyone I know of any capacity having cancer as a child. Personally know them in any sort of 2 degrees of separation. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying I know a freakish amount of adults who have had random types of cancer in women with breast cancer. A lot of people. It's 1 out of 2 people's moms I know have had breast cancer. It's crazy. I've known one child in my entire life at the age of 10 who had cancer.
He played too many games.
All he did was just sit on computer monitors, he put his, he basically made a George Foreman grill out of computer monitors and just put his legs in it, and that's how it happened. Because, computer monitors cause cancer, right? That's what it is?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So
a game has to be on first, though.
Yeah. But you have to plug it in. That's how computers work.
That may not be a
Debatable.
requirement, actually. That's optional.
You have to make sure all the windows are open, right? All those windows?
Just one.
Okay.
Just one.
So yeah, guys, moral of the story is sensationalized news is trash and people still want to bring down video games for no reason. And that leads us into another amazing story of the Bidden. So Eddie, tell me how you feel about old Joe A. Biden.
You know those moments that you want to punch a baby?
I've heard of these.
Oh no, is it just me? Okay. So the VP wanted to discuss what we can do to solve violence in America. And specifically asked a bunch of bigwigs in the gaming industry to join him and talk about what they are going to do to fix this. Now, first off, video games aren't a problem towards the violence that we've been seeing. It's a problem that these guys, these bigwigs in the gaming industry, are going to him practically admitting guilt. Yes, we're a part of this. Let's find a solution. That's a problem. Because there is no problem. Now, much to my surprise, they found no solution. And it's... Okay, so we're going in there. These bigwigs are going in there with representatives of the NRA. A bunch of other dudes that are more involved in this problem, or actually involved. The gaming industry has no place there. I mean, Walmart had the foresight to just say, no, we are not going. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, eventually they did go because of pressure, but it's so ridiculous. It's another case of adults being extremely, extremely irresponsible.
Yeah.
By giving a subject the wrong attention. The problem isn't games, it's not guns. It's okay, and this stems from the shooting that took place in that one place and 20 kids died. Yeah, Connecticut. There you go. So what was the source of this guy's problems? Why did he do this? Was it Call of Duty, the game that was mentioned in passing by his brothers? Or was it his autism and how he was treated by his mother that caused him to think that the best way to solve his problems is to eliminate her and everything she cared about? Is that indicative of Call of Duty being what taught him what to do? I don't know. What do you think? Is the game the reason why he killed everyone?
Yeah, for one thing, if his brothers or whatever said, yeah, he's playing Call of Duty, I'm sure they're like, was he playing violent video games like the Call of Duty? And they said, yeah, he played Call of Duty. And they probably went, oh, that's enough, thanks. And they left and said, he was playing the Call of Duty, killing people, terrorists. Can you believe he was killing people who caused the Twin Towers to fall down? What a villain. Man, but those SEAL Team 6 guys, they had it right. But this guy playing the Call of the Duty. Violence. It's, I mean, other than just the hypocrisy involved, it's ridiculous to say that you see something and therefore will do it. For one thing, never in my life have I emulated something like what I see in media. Never, not once in my life. Never even thought it was an option because it seems ridiculous. I sure as heck don't go throwing people into spike pits and yelling, finish him and stuff. That's ridiculous. So I sure as heck don't go around with machine guns acting like I'm a Navy SEAL, dropping bodies. And at the same rate, people who watch violent media and play these games, usually you are a protagonist and you're defeating a villain. Usually the villain is some sort of military force, a violent military force. You're not going to play Call of Duty and then go shoot up a school. This guy had problems. They also involved his mother. None of this is in video games. I can't think of a video game where any of these things take place in any capacity. So, did he possibly learn how to use a gun in a video game? Entirely possible. Is the Second Amendment not only encouraging, but more or less telling you to own a gun in case the British come to take them from you? Yeah, that's pretty much the Second Amendment. It is saying own a gun, learn how to use it, be proud of it, be an American, cool. So, the government has always been about knowing how to use a gun and owning a gun, yet somehow guns are a problem now after, hundreds of years of our country being around and being the reason we have a country. That and tea being thrown in the bay. But yet video games are being sensationalized yet again because they have no answer other than it's too hard to try and get rid of mental illness and depression and bullies. So video games and guns that are on store shelves can be thrown in trashes. So that's easy. We'll just go with that instead.
Well, not only is it too hard to get rid of all that, but the sources of all that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the problem is deep. It goes very far. It is not a one-answer problem.
So are you trying to tell me that people are getting upset because of things like they can't pay their taxes? So they're going on shooting rampages? Is that what are you trying to tell me the government who makes taxes, who's in charge of gun control and people's safety, are making people go crazy and kill people?
Yes, that's
what I'm saying. Are you trying to
also
tell me that people with mental illness have a hard time getting the proper medication and help they need from the government?
Oh, no, we have a government program that, free universal health care. I mean, we cover our bases.
So, yeah, there's somebody in charge of all this stuff, preventing it, cleaning it up, all these awful things. They're in charge of it, but they're not the cause ever. It's video games, an entertainment source where people kill dragons and terrorists.
First there was books, then there were comics, then there were movies, now there are video games. There is always going to be a devil.
Yep. But we'll be in charge one day, so.
Yep. Give it another 30 years.
Yep. It's ridiculous.
If that.
Oh, I mean, it's 10 years.
Yeah, there you go. 10 years. 10 years, far more realistic.
I
Very
mean,
possible.
in 10 years, we'll be mid-30s and we'll be eligible for, White House. So that's, the eligibility already means we're there. So 20 years, and we're talking like there's a couple old farts strolling around, waving canes in the air, yelling about mohawks and what have you.
So what you're saying is we're going to be presidents?
Yes.
And we're going to change the world for the better?
Yes.
And video games will be required?
Yes.
Yes.
Third
I like
Amendment.
This. Third Amendment.
You must
all
play
right.
video games with a gun strapped to your hip at all times.
All right. We're going to push all the other amendments down one.
I like it.
Sounds good.
They'll still be the same number, but there'll be the Third Amendment, and it'll just be, it'll be above the other Third Amendment.
Good.
I like
Good.
this. We're already making
we're gonna
change,
go
Obama. Change. All right, so following up on the THQ news, if you don't follow the weekly episodes of the news as I see it, then you might not be aware of this story. But quite simply, it is the court rulings have decided that THQ will be sold as a whole company, unless all of the individual IPs and their sell values from different bids are going to be a larger amount than the wholesale. So let's say if only Saints Row 3, that IP, and Darksiders, that IP, come up to be $100 million, but THQ, the company, is only worth $90 million. Even if none of those other IPs sell, they will literally just sell those two IPs and call it a day, theoretically. So the individual IP sale is the first most priority, but also everyone has taken a bid on THQ as a whole for all of it. But they've put in a single bid for each IP that they want, and if those bids don't add up to a total larger than the total THQ bid, whoever had the highest THQ bid will take it. Which sounds good. And for business, I really hope that all the IPs I like get put in a good place. Like, I want Saints Row 3 to go to someone who actually cares about it, because I keep saying Saints Row 3 because it's the only one that actually matters. But Saints Row, I hope that goes somewhere that matters, and it will actually, take care of it. We'll see. But this sounds good. They clearly couldn't hang anymore, and I hope that somebody gets it. All their good IPs, I hope they go somewhere actually creative. So it's about that, really.
Yeah, I mean, I really got nothing to add to this.
Yeah.
I just really hope some of these franchises go to the right people.
Mm-hmm. Because they got some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 2012, the year of the MMO Kickstarter. I kind of couldn't agree more with that as of late, especially. What are you looking forward to most as a Kickstarter project?
A Kickstarter project? Oh, God.
For me, it's Star Citizen, hands down.
Is it? That's the multi-million funded one?
That's the one by the guy who did Freelancer. It's that super awesome space. It's like Eve, but like you're a dude.
Yeah. Yep. That would be one. Yeah, definitely that one.
So I mean, that's
there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There's another one, but it's not a I don't think it's on Kickstarter or ever has been. It's Indiegogo is another Kickstarter-like website. They have a sort of sci-fi Minecraft game going on.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was on Kickstarter, but yeah, indie games being developed through crowdfunding.
Mm-hmm. And Kickstarter is just sort of the the main one, but there's other ones. But it's the whole idea of not having investors, not having a publisher. Really, you just ask people, "You want this game?" They go, "Yeah," and you go, "Okay, well, give me the money now, and I'll give it to you when it's done." And they're like, "Cool, here's $1,000. I only needed 10. Oh, I'm giving you 1,000.
Get it done now.
Yep. So that's how it's going, and it's awesome, and it's the best idea ever because you don't have some psycho Joe Biden guy sitting over you going, "I really wish you didn't put that in the game. It's not budget friendly." And they go, "But this is the game. I need to have guns in Halo. It's important." No, I don't see that helping.
And that green thing that dude is in? No, no,
Yeah.
no.
There's no doors on that Jeep. It's not safe. Evil. So yeah.
Evil.
You know, I constantly cover these stories, different games that we're looking at. We cover them constantly. It's almost like we have like 5 a show basically. But you can always go check them out for yourself. Go to Kickstarter, go to Indiegogo. You can always go to the various news sites and look up crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, all these different things. But it's a huge deal now, and we're talking multi-million-dollar projects. You know, we're talking, there's a lot of games you love that have far less a budget than games that are being made right now that people are basically donating money to be made. So some of your favorite games were made underneath giant umbrella corporations. Well, not really umbrella corporations, but giant corporations that could just care less about the game or the company at all and are taking all their money, really. And then you have those people leaving, making their own companies, getting crap loads of money to make the game, at which point they will then sell it and make money on actual sales as well from not just the donations. It's amazing. And I'm just...
Now, a disclaimer to actually going to fund games on Kickstarter. I would avoid anything that doesn't have something to show. Like concept art, concept music. I'm not investing in that because there is no actual product yet started. If this is something like deep into late alpha or beta type testing, do it. Especially if you see a lot of people backing them up, and especially if you have the money for it. If you can't throw around $5 or $10, don't even start.
Yeah.
You're better off spending that on something you actually need.
For sure. Because, yeah, I mean, it's an investment, you know, for one thing. It's an investment into a game that quite possibly cannot come out. But
yeah, you're taking a bet is basically what you're doing.
But there's a lot of games.
And they owe you nothing.
No.
Like, they can quite literally tank, and you will never see anything because you really don't have any rights to anything. You're just giving them money.
Well, you're paying to have a product made, and they may never be able to make it. So it's interesting, though, because a lot of these people are major developers that have been around for a very long time and have made some of your favorite games. So the potential is there for great success.
Yep.
And then there's, was it Repopulation? Is that what we were looking at?
Is that on there?
Is that
one
wasn't
of
it? I don't know. But there's
possibly.
really cool looking games that are going into like different testing phases that you can try and sign up for, and some of them you can donate, you know, your share of the money and enter into a testing phase. So you could actually sometimes play the game and see it as it grows.
Yep.
Oh, I skipped a couple, didn't I?
Did you?
Apparently.
Oh boy.
I don't know how I did that. Anyways, so speaking back to the THQ thing, that's where we're supposed to be leaving off from. Tell us about your old GameStop there, Eddie. How you feel about it? How does it make you feels?
GameStop is evil. Okay, so I don't agree with a brick and mortar sell used games shop like GameStop. It denies developers money to continue wanting to produce new content. Unfortunately, we're seeing a cut in sales. People want to support their devs. There's a lot of digital sales going on. There's a big boom in that, and GameStop has noticed a loss of $2.8 billion. during the holidays. The result.
Not even the year, during the holidays.
This is just the holidays. I mean, this is the course of 30 days. And, I mean, granted, that's out of like $55 billion. But this is over the course of 30 days, they lost $3 billion. It's amazing. And personally, they just need to die. This company needs to go. I mean, business practices, the way they treat their employees, they're all about their bottom line. They have little overhead, and they rape everyone for their money.
Absolutely. They sold, I just read this, they sold 320,000 Wii U consoles. And that didn't cover this at all. They're still down 2.7% in hardware. Wow. Congratulations. So it's phenomenal to me, because if you take that amount of money, just take that little bit amount of money, divide it up amongst all the video games you can think of that came out during the holidays. Now divide that up amongst all those developers. They each get like $100 million. Do you know how many people wouldn't have lost their jobs out of all those people closing video game companies?
So many.
It's outrageous. You know, Steam does it right. They have massive sales constantly, and the devs are still getting money because they're selling the games one time per person. You can't trade it. You know, you're not selling Call of Duty Black Ops 50 times to one dude or to different people. It's to one person for usually an affordable price, or day one for MSRP. So it's the world's finally changing, and it's because technology and theories are changing, and it's all for the best, 100%. And you have different digital distributors competing, so it's not like you only have Steam. There's other people. Will GameStop still live on? You mean? Possibly. But they won't be able to trade games, which is what they live on. So, buy GameStop.
Ha to them. Ha ha ha.
Now, your boy, Lord Newell.
My man. This guy. I like the way he talks. So he's talking about the death of big publisher gaming. Now, I am 100% behind this. Of course, big publishers are going to go the way of the dinosaur because of things like Kickstarter and Steam Greenlight. Companies can't afford to do business the way they do it. It's not going to be feasible in the near future. Crowdfunding is becoming a big and powerful device for developing the games that consumers want. And Gabe sees this. He knows this. He's in the industry. He understands this stuff. He knows what he's talking about just a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that companies like EA still exist bewilder me, quite frankly. They turn out a lot of products I do like, but more often than not, they are ruining things I love. But it's very obvious. Like you said, Kickstarter, Greenlight, there are these things coming out and that are already out that are proving to not only make good games, but they're bringing in multi-million dollars. I mean, Kickstarter in 2012 raised $83 million for gaming, for the different gaming projects. That is huge, man. We're talking not having to pay dev fees, not having a bunch of weird people on your team you don't like that aren't helping you, they're slowing you down, and you have to pay them because, like EA is making you have 30 people on your art team when you only need like 2 that are actually good and are on the same page as you. All to try and get a faster annual release date of like every sequel you do. Having like a team of like 10 dudes, 2 dudes, whatever, and you're getting the game done the way you want it done and the way it just needs to be done. Maybe not with super high fidelity graphics or whatever, but you're achieving the game at like an 800% price reduction, and they're making the same amount of money anyways in donations. It's crazy.
Even more.
It just shows how much people want the right quality product. They don't care about this like, oh my god, the new Madden, like you can read the brand of the mouth guard. The graphics are that much better. Whoa, cool. It's pointless.
This guy.
You know, Crisis
I
1
don't see
made
EA
sense.
sticking around
No.
very long.
They're gonna-
Activision is still going to be a powerhouse. That guy is not going to go down anytime soon. Call of Duty is too powerful a franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
And now that they have Blizzard,
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
yeah,
That's a little bit of a different beast because of Blizzard.
yeah.
But it's the big business goals of gaming. They don't work. They really don't. And I don't understand how people go to baseball games and football games and buy into their crap either. It blows my mind. Like
A lot of it is a sense of belonging to something that's, you know. I mean, all right. So, are you a sports fan at all?
No.
Of any sports? No. Okay, so you're smart. Sports are dumb. Why are you paying into this?
Yeah.
But I like soccer. I love playing soccer. I don't agree with paying grown ass men millions and millions of dollars to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I see the benefit that it does for a community. So there's a big game or the World Cup. Let's pretend it takes place in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring a lot of tourism to Chicago.
Yeah.
A lot of tourism, and that's a lot of money for the city, which is fine. To that point, I can agree with. But I mean,
But like $10 for like a beer,
yeah, that's
It's just like-
ridiculous.
man, get out of here. It's the whole idea of like now movie tickets are like $15 and a popcorn's like $10. Why don't you lower the costs and actually sell them? Because only times I've seen since I was like 10, the only times I've seen someone buy food at a movie theater was to try and show people they had money, like a date.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only reason. Like, whereas I would always go, I'm not buying that, and I hope that doesn't make you mad because that is crazy. I will take you to get a steak afterwards. Like,
For half the price.
yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Or it's like, really now, it's like, let's go buy a Blu-ray and like 18 pounds of popcorn and chocolate, and we'll save money. So, and we'll own it.
And you'll own it.
Yeah. So all of these things are examples of people just farming out of necessity for these products. You know, do I have a solution to Major League Sports? No. Do I care? Not at all. I don't care. Like, that's the reason I don't like big business, like, lunacy. If Major League Baseball would charge like $2 for a beer and whatever reasonable price for like, you know, $2 for about anything, beer, hot dog, whatever, I could think of pretty much no problem with them, nothing at all. So, but that's their like farm. That's what they get in their cash. Ticket sales, I don't know what, I mean, tickets or whatever. There's some really affordable ones at the Braves, really affordable ones. You know, I have to drive downtown anyways, so it already feels like a big event, you know. Would I go every game like some people would? Absolutely not. Do I go every now and then? Sure. You know, it's like maybe $30 for a ticket or something for pretty decent seats that are actually under an overhang. So no sun, no rain. Cool. I can get behind this. But I don't know, some people pay like $1,000 for Super Bowl tickets or whatever. I don't even know. Newfangled Super Bowl tickets? I don't know.
I suppose it's the attraction of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where else are you gonna go and get an IMAX experience?
Which is why I get the ticket sales. I don't get them for regular movie theaters anymore. Way too expensive. And then they have the add-on product where we are holding you hostage for 2 hours. Are you hungry? That'd be $75. It's crazy. So that's
unfortunately it works.
That's I mean, yeah, apparently, but hopefully, you know, Darwinism or something will kill off those people. All that butter popcorn will kill them. maybe that's, I don't know. Evolution will it'll cause
the butter
end.
fumes.
Yeah, The butter fumes. That's the effect. The butter fumes effect. I think that's a Ashton Kutcher movie, right?
Direct butterfly effect, yeah.
No, butter fumes effect.
Butter fumes. Oh, that's right. That's right. I was
This
wrong.
guy. Okay. Let's see. And then now that we've actually caught up properly. Oh wait. Oh, that was it.
That is it.
So I skipped ahead to the end. I'm sorry.
You better apologize.
So what do you think? Should we leave them on these 3 back burner notes? I think these are good, just food for thought notes.
Give them something to think about.
So feel free in the comments down below or on Twitter or wherever you would like to hit us up. And we got 3 little jumping off parts for you. You can give us your opinion on all of them, individual, whatever you like. Over at Massively at their Think Tank column on free-to-play models and MMOs. So the whole idea is sort of, go read the article. It'll be down below in the back burner section. So the idea is, how do you think MMOs should be structured in a way they can still actually make money? I think Guild Wars is about near perfect, especially in the setting it takes place, for a game where you have to still level up and grind and craft to get your weapons and armors. Not being able to buy weapon and armor makes sense. Buying the aesthetic that can go over the armor, buying a dye pack, buying experience tokens for 24 hours, get more experience. All those things work perfectly in Guild Wars. And then I think over in Planetside world, it doesn't work. Or the Guild Wars model doesn't. But the Planetside model for Planetside, I think, is amazing. And I still think they could actually have charged to play the game originally. But because of the way it works, and it being a shooter and having it be free to play, it attracts a certain audience of trolley jerks. And they had to make it totally free to play to get everyone to still play the game and not have a bad taste in their mouth, because if they paid $20 and it was full of jerks, they would leave. But with it being free, they can kind of write it off as, okay, well, it was free. Now, they also can sell guns and things because they don't matter, because they're specialized fields of guns, and all the ammo and barrels and attachments you still have to earn. So it's not pay to win. So I think those 2 models for those 2 types of games work amazingly. So you can go read that article and get your own opinion. Do you have anything on that one, Eddie?
No, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, we're pretty in tune with those 2.
Guild Wars 2 and Planetside are doing it right. They have a gold standard for free-to-play models in their respective genres.
Mm-hmm. And then also Massively, the same sort of thing. They have what is your favorite non-combat feature? I say more specifically in MMOs, because it is Massively. It's kind of what they're talking about. But if you have a non-combat feature in other games, feel free. Such as, for example, in non-MMOs, there's things like Armored Core, where you could go really, really far into the customization and tuning of your robot, your mech unit. So I really enjoy doing that, whether it be visual aesthetic stuff or tuning your engine to give you more output just so you can use your sword a little bit better. Those kind of things are really intense and can be really fun. And MMOs, it is non-player, or it's player housing and more realistic things, sort of as role-playing, crafting, the more realistic to living a life sort of aspects of an MMO, not just the combat. The combat for me is more of a means to an end, and the end is I have earned money to buy a house, and I can role-play and have fun and start a guild to then have a meeting place to hold these combat events. And then lastly, just food for thought. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, it has gone free to play, and you can now have not 999 characters, not 500 characters, but you can buy a total of 349 additional character slots in Star Wars: The Old Republic. My dog groaned on that note, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. And that is just the food for thought. Feel free to talk about anything in the comments down below. Leave any thoughts, questions, likes, dislikes of any of the information. And if you have any news for anything coming up any day, feel free all day, any day to tweet me at AlgolGaming or at AlgolsNews or hashtag AlgolsNews for any news articles you'd like me to talk about. And if they fit in the weekly news, I will talk about them and we'll cover them, and I'd be happy to say who it came from. And that's it for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And that's it for me and FNGEddie. Make sure to check out his channel. He's got some really awesome stuff. And if you guys would like, we are trying to raise a little bit of financial capital on our own little private Kickstarter right here, right now. If you would like to see FNGEddie's pretty beautiful face, feel free to get in touch with us about donating money and or a webcam so we can get him hooked up and actually have a dual webcam podcast going on here. So
I have a beard if that's a selling point.
we can have 2 beards for the price of 1, and we can still have Gabe Newell sandwiched in between us ever so gingerly like he is right now. So if this is something you'd like to do, feel free to get a hold of us and let us know. I'm not going to be, going crazy with it, but it was just something we would like to have, and it'd be really, really nice if somebody could help us out with that. So let us know. And as always, make sure to follow Eddie's channel, follow us on Twitter so you can stay tuned with the news, and let us know of any stories you like. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the news as I see it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.